Hello and welcome. Apparently, I'm live. Time will tell. Who was first in? It was Jonathan, wasn't it? I don't know. Oh, it wasn't. It was Debbie. Congratulations, Debbie. Poor Jonathan, starting the night off well. Oh, dear. That was a low blow. There's a comment from Debbie. Are you planning on staying awake for the whole show? He always plans on staying awake for the whole show, does Jonathan? Never ends that well, though. Hello, Kim. Hello, Neil. Hello, Santosh. Who else have we got?
Gone.
Oh, is he gone?
He's got to go to the Apple store to collect his Mac.
That's far more important. We'll see you later. Right, who else have we got? I can see Neil. Does that mean BK is in the house? Do let us know. And do we have a full complement of Debs? Debbie gets an extra point for being first in. Oh, we have all the Debs. Hello. Debs. There's been a lot of chat. Good grief. Hello, Graham. Capture comments as they happen. Do you think I've not got enough to do, YouTube? Oh, dear, oh, dear. Hello, John.
All the Neils
Oregon.
are in.
And all the Neils are in. Wow. Wow. Full complement of everybody. Hello, Paul. Excellent. I think I've got everybody. We've already... Oh, no, I haven't. There's Renee. Hello. And yes, there's Debbie, Deborah and Deb. Excellent. All in. All accounted for. Camera's first casualty of the night, isn't it?
It is.
Yes. It looks like a phone I used to have in 2001. I.e. not high definition. I have no idea what's wrong with it. So that's going to be another job for the weekend. One of our laughable weekends. But we can
laughable holiday.
Yes, we can carry on regardless, can't we? We've got new toys. We have new versions of existing toys. We have the fun and games of me trying to share my iPad. Because that went so well last time. But, fingers crossed. I'm moving the freebies to the other side of the Excel because it goes with our last bit. And then we should be good to go. So, fingers crossed. And I really do mean fingers crossed, folks. Right, I'm going to share my desktop first. So it should all go blue. Right, and then I'll get the slides up and hopefully they'll be all right. Yeah, well, I can see them. Can't see the chat now, but I can see the slides. So, hello and welcome officially. 98. Isn't it 99?
It is 99.
It is 99, so there's the first catastrophe of the evening. There you go. It's 99, trust me, because it's 100 next week. Right, we have a Notion clipping nightmare to start with. We don't like nightmares. It's happened to me, and it could happen to you. Then we got a new toy from the people who make several of the toys we already use. It's a new thing called Vectorize, and at the moment you get 3 versions of it for half price. So that's a pretty decent deal. So we'll have a look at it. Then we're looking at shelf applications on iOS because last week we looked at them on Mac OS. Then we have a new and very predictable, it was predicted last week, a new version of Snagit 2021, where we're all trying to find the new features. If anybody finds one, let me know. It's a bit like an Easter egg hunt, isn't it, Mike? Should anybody find one, you win a prize. Even TechSmith have no clue what they are because I attended a live session with them the day after it was released and they didn't want to answer questions on it. I thought I'm not surprised. You can't find anything either. So that one's been great. Then Mike's taking us off into the realm of Radioland, aren't you?
Yep.
With our by request tracker. Then we have said freebie and then we have our holiday planner. So that's the plan. Right, make sure that you're watching in the highest possible quality. Down in the right-hand corner, you will find a cog. The cog will allow you to pick the highest quality of 720p, so make sure you do that. While you're down there, if you find anything of any use to you today, please give us a thumbs up. It makes a big difference with YouTube. So, what were we up to this week? Oh, there is never a dull moment here. We had another 8-show Saturday. I know that because I was up finishing them off at 4 o'clock in the morning. But if I thought that was busy, that was nothing on later. because at 8 o'clock, somebody had triple booked himself, hadn't you? Not deliberately, because Tesco was supposed to be 9 o'clock, but she's always early. So we had a Brooklands by request where the theme was calendars and dates. And we thought that was a tricky one, didn't we? But they surpassed themselves yet again. So that was a very good night. Then it was the Tesco delivery, early. And for the third week running, it was the lovely Wendy, wasn't it? Now, he would have been persuaded to spend more time with the lovely Wendy, but for the fact the third item he had triple booked himself with was the football, which ended rather well, didn't it?
Can't remember.
You can't. No, you didn't watch it, did you? You listened on the radio, I think.
Oh, it did, yeah.
It ended well,
Yeah.
Trust me. It did. It ended well. Which took us through to Sunday, when there was another delivery, but it wasn't Wendy. So it wasn't half as exciting for Mike. By Monday, Mike and I were sick of the news. If you were with us on Marooned, you would have been following through. It was all a bit two tribes. Frankie goes to Hollywood. All will be revealed on Tuesday, but we basically had politicians scrapping over us. So Tuesday was the big day. Tuesday was high noon. I'm not even kidding. There was a 12 o'clock cut-off between these two. You may know the one on the left as the Prime Minister. The one on the right is our mayor, the Mayor of Manchester. And they were, I would say, fighting for our rights, but they were really just locking horns, weren't they? So the thing was, Boris gave Burnham an ultimatum. Agreed to the government terms by noon, or else. What was the or else? You're going into tier 3. Thing was that was not mentioned during all of this farce. We have been in tier 2 since the 29th of July. So think about that. That's lockdown for a long, long, long time. People think lockdown was 3 weeks back in March. No, it wasn't. So we were at the stage, we may well never leave the house again if that happened. And guess what? We entered tier 3 today, 1 minute past midnight. So I don't think we ever will leave the house, as it were. Tier 2, as I say, tier 2 was since the 29th of July. So we wanted something else to think about. Aha! Adobe Max. Adobe Max was Tuesday. Did you manage to totally miss it this year?
I miss it every year.
Yes, but you normally have a clue what was mentioned. And I think this year it was very understated. But sneaking up on us was Adobe Illustrator for iPad. I could show you that today if I'd seen it. But obviously I've had a bit of a busy week. So shall we pencil that in for next week? Based on how thrilled we were when we had a look at Photoshop for the iPad. Yeah, this time last year, it was like, that's shocking. So I thought, I'm not going to lead with that this week. We'll have a look at it for next week. But it did come out on Tuesday. Wednesday, somebody had such a good time on Saturday with a Tesco order and the Asda order on Sunday. Put in a crafty midweek order, didn't you?
That's because we needed stuff.
That was because they were out of stock at the weekend.
Yeah.
Yes, because we're in lockdown now. Which took us through to Thursday. So just as we were preparing ourselves for a tier 3, you know, you give your life for a toilet roll, that kind of thing, Scotland were told, and thus us, get ready for digital Christmas. For once, we are ahead of the curve. That was taken tonight. The tree is already up, I kid you not. I kid you not. We even have gifts under it, look, being collected. And on the left-hand side of that, just in front of the fire, there's a cardboard box with wrapping paper and stuff in it. And next to that, if you look carefully, there is a lovely blue box, which I could lie and tell you there's gifts in it. But that would depend if you want scouring brushes and sponges. Because that's what's in it. You can see the little orange, little yellow sponges. But yes, the tree is up, the angels on top, lights on. Quite happy with that. Which brings us to today, when it is Two Show Friday. And you can see this time it is actually 99. So I was right. I just can't count on slides. Never mind. Big announcement. Is Jonathan still awake?
He is.
Oh, good. Because for the first time ever in the week at MacBites headquarters, I'm going into Mystic Meg mode. And I'm looking forward to tomorrow. We need to look ahead. I've got to do it now because there's a very good chance Johnny will be unconscious before the end of the show. And he's a birthday boy on Sunday. But we have a gift for him tomorrow. So, obviously we've put this on early, so you're still awake, Jonathan. But we have your birthday special for you tomorrow on Brooklands 196 at 5 o'clock. You will not want to miss it. Let's just say that. And, as if that isn't enough, it was also Tracy's birthday earlier in the week. So Tracy's birthday special is following Jonathan's at 6 o'clock. Can't say fairer than that, can we? You'll enjoy the songs, honestly. Handcrafted, aren't they?
They are.
They are. They are from what you have requested. So as long as you weren't requesting something for the worst song in the world, you should be all right. You should be totally all right. Right, let's get on to my Notion clipping nightmare. Let me know if this has happened to you. But this is the story. When I started with a Mac, it was 2006. In 2008, an application was released for the Mac, which had been on Windows for a couple of years. I wish I had a screenshot of it because you would not recognise it. But the app in question was Evernote. And Evernote had a clipper and still does have a clipper. Let me know in the chat if you use the Evernote clipper. But it's an amazing thing. It has options for what you clip or how you clip the information. You can have a simplified clipping, which is without all of the adverts and stupid graphics and all of the rest of it. It keeps in the article and the images from the article, and that's it. You lose all the rest of the garbage surrounding it. You can also choose to keep the whole page if you want. And I have been clipping to Evernote since 2008. But 2 years ago, I switched to Notion, and it made sense to clip things into Notion. You've also seen my browsers. All my browsers look the same. I have 3 standard clippers. I would either want to clip something to things, which are actions to be done, Notion for reference, and DevonThink for reference. Now, how do I make a distinction between Notion and DevonThink? Well, if it's something like I download some freebies and there's a license with the freebies, that kind of thing would go to DevonThink. DevonThink has the most amazing AI to find stuff. So for me, I would put that in DevonThink. If I want a PDF of the page, exactly as the page looks, I would clip it to DevonThink. But if it's something I'm going to use in MacBites or mention in After Hours, odds are I would want to clip it to Notion. And that's what I've been doing. I also have some extra clippers for special circumstances. One of those is still the Evernote one, but it doesn't get priority on the main toolbar in terms of being visual. It's hidden underneath the chevrons there. But I do still clip to Evernote when I feel it's something that I would like to keep, but I don't particularly have any project that I need it for right now. So that will get clipped into Evernote. Evernote is a fantastic filing cabinet. If I've tried clipping something and it doesn't work well, then I clip it to Bear, because Bear's clipper is quite forgiving. When nothing else will clip stuff, I've found that Bear will. And then I copy and paste it out of Bear, or I take it out to a Word document and copy and paste it out of the Word document. So Bear is just a clipper that's there to fill in the gap when nothing else will work. I still have the clipper installed for OneNote, and I have a clipper for Roam, but I hardly ever use them. You use the OneNote clipper, don't you?
I have used the OneNote clipper.
I can't be doing with
I
it.
haven't used it for a long time.
It never seemed to clip what I wanted in a visual way that I wanted it. So it could it did well with recipes. It did well with Amazon stuff. It did well with pages that were predictable. But pages that were just random pages of people's blogs, it was very, very variable. So that's where I'm at. So at the point of capture, when I'm capturing into Notion, this was what I had. So that's a screenshot of my Notion. I think I scrolled down a bit so we could see the graphic. But basically what it is a blog post that somebody on the Building a Second Brain course had written, but she'd posted sketch notes of the entire course. If you've done the entire course, the sketch notes are like a great aid to your memory without having to read through lots of stuff. So I clipped it into Notion. A few weeks later, I came back to the same thing in Notion. And I thought, just a minute, what? Horror struck me. The image couldn't be found. Learn more. Now, the illustrated.dev that it's talking about is the original URL that it was clipped from. The error 404, well, we all know what a 404 means. The images aren't there. Yes, I can see that. But I'm thinking to myself, just a minute, I clipped that. I didn't do any magic jiggery pokery and put in some kind of link to it. I clipped it. And surely the point of clipping something is that you now have your own offline copy. If you think of how Evernote works, you have the option to save a bookmark. If I'd have wanted to save a link to it, I would have done. I didn't. I wanted a copy of the blog post in my system. In this particular case, with this particular blog post, the images were more important than the text, because the text you can see there, that's it. That was the only text that was there. The images were absolutely critical. So I'm having a think to myself, and I'm thinking, one of two things has happened here. Either they were clipped to some kind of cloud storage inside Notion, which is down. That sometimes happens if S3 is down. Or they were never clipped in the true meaning of the word into Evernote, into Notion. They were just pointed to. So I had a think about that, because when you've got the image there, there is an option in Notion to hover over the top of it and download it. Never entered my head, given how long it takes to clip something, that it hadn't gone away and copied those files and put them into its own cloud storage. But it turns out it doesn't do that. So if the images within a post, now obviously it is doing that with the text, and it gives you no indication it's not doing that with the images. But if the text goes away, you've got a copy of the text. If the images go away, you're out of luck. Couldn't believe it. Horror struck. So I thought, how did Evernote fare? Because knowing me, and this is when people say to me, like, why have you got so many iPads? It's a common question I get. Answer to which is, what's it got to do with you? But that's a whole different business. Why would you clip something twice to two different applications? And now you know the answer. In Evernote, at the point of capture, and yes, I did capture it in Evernote as well, that was the point in capture. That was the point of capture. Obviously, after I found they were missing from Notion, I went back to Evernote. That's what a clipper should do. As the name implies, clip it, take a copy of it, and put it in your system. So, Elephant definitely won that one, didn't it? So I just thought I'd mention it on the basis, if you are clipping something with images, and the images are absolutely critical, I mean, if they're just decorative, not quite so critical, you might want to be thinking about having a backup clipping somewhere. Why they actually disappeared was that the lady in question rewrote the blog post, changed the title of it, and added more images, which I did find later. But it was that moment where you thought, I was going to read that, and now the images are missing. And literally, that's what happened. I had gone back to read it, and I was reading it in Notion. Only I wasn't reading it in Notion, was I? Or looking at the pictures. So I did have a copy in Evernote. What I then did was take another clipping into Notion, but I made sure I had the graphics, and I had actually loaded them in one by one, which, trust me, I'm not doing with it with all my clippings. No. So, despite everything we said about Evernote, and we said lots about Evernote, the new client not being all there, I can't record, I can't play audio. No, but what I can do, what I can still do, is clip to it, and it is a proper clipper. So, something to bear in mind. Right, on to the first new toy, which is a toy called Vectorize. It is from Cinium, who are the people who make lots of other applications that I like. There's one called Logoist. Let me know in the chat if it's something you use. They also have a screen recorder. So while you've got Camtasia and ScreenFlow, and they are very expensive, Cinium's is much cheaper. It's called Screenium. And it's very good. And I use it as one of my backups, because until the previous version of ScreenFlow, you could only ever, with one of the applications, record one screen. And that's still the case with Camtasia. So if I wanted to record two screens, I needed two screen recorders. And sometimes screen recorders break. Trust me, they bring out an update and it's grand. New features, lovely. Old features, not working. So Cinium and their screen recorder is something that I use. So I got this email and they said there's this new toy. We have seen another toy that does this job, which is Super Vectorizer. It basically takes your images and converts them into vector. What is interesting with it is it's a bundled application, meaning when you look at the price over on the right hand side and it says buy Vectorize, 50% discount, it actually means you get the Mac version, the iOS version and the iPad OS version all thrown in for $8.99. And it takes a photograph and it turns it into a vector of that photograph. Now, there's lots of options, so you can tweak it slightly. Let's see how it fares. But there are before and afters on here. You are going to have to play around with it, obviously. But it's not bad. I tried the front cover of a newspaper, not expecting much, and it did pretty well. So like I say, it is definitely going to depend on the images that you actually use. They're going to show you fantastic images, obviously. But I thought I'd try it with some real ones, and we'll see how we go. So at the moment, and it doesn't say for how long, it is $8.99. But if you already own a copy of Logoist, and you only want to use this on the Mac, then it's going to be included within Logoist. But as it says there, if you want to use this on the iPhone and the iPad as well, then this separate application gives you that ability because it's in its own little bundle. Right, let's actually go and have a look at it then. Now I can see the chat again. So have we got any questions?
No.
Heard of Screenium? Screenium's really good.
Johnny says, do they do bitmap?
Screenium, that's what Screenium looks like. So it's completely fully functional. It allows you to capture an area, full screen, single window. You can do iOS or a tvOS device. You can choose whether, in terms of the video, your quality of the video. You can choose your desktop. So whether you hide the desktop background, whether you change the desktop at the point of recording. I mean, there's way more expensive ones that do not have those features. You can choose your audio input, you can choose your camera, you can choose whether it captures the mouse or not, whether it captures the keyboard things or not, and you can have a timer. Now, is that countdown or count up? Both. You can have a delay before it starts recording, so you're probably used to seeing a countdown. But this one has the ability to record for a duration, which ScreenFlow has, but Camtasia does not. So you could leave that recording if you're watching like like a football match that's only available in a browser and you want to watch later and it's only on live, you could record it for a certain amount of time. So it's very, very fully featured. Can you find out how much that is, Mike? Screenium 3. It's not that expensive by comparison, and they always do really good Friday deals. So as a backup, that just sits there acting as a backup as far as I'm concerned. But
$26.99.
$26.99. But you know that Camtasia's
down from $54.99.
Oh, it's currently on offer. Even better. There you go. So not quite half price then.
I'll stick the link in.
About 40% off. So Vectorize, how handily opening on the other screen. Not at the moment. Right. Lovely dialogue box, isn't it? Nice and colourful. Right. I literally just grabbed some images from the web. The ones that I've actually got here, I have not tried yet. Oh, we shouldn't do this, but we will. Right. First thing you can do. You can choose a file, and it needs to be a bitmap file, so PNG, JPEG, etc. You can choose from photos if your photo is in photos, and you can choose from an iPad, iPhone, etc. You can choose to take a picture and send it to it. That should be interesting, shouldn't it? Let's just drag and drop one in first. Right, I'm going to pick a simple one that's black and white. Let's see how it does. Right, this is the very first step. So it's not done anything with it yet. You have the ability at this stage to choose another image in the top left. You can just go ahead and vectorize it in the top right if you don't want to make any changes. But you also have the ability to make a few changes down at the bottom. Now, obviously, nothing to the degree that you would in Affinity Photo or Photoshop. But you could rotate it, you could flip it horizontally or vertically, you can rotate it 90 degrees, and you can do some cropping if you want. Now, pretty much what we've got there is perfect, but in terms of cropping it, you would grab the outside of it and bring that in if you wanted to crop it a little bit like that. So I'll crop some of the blurring out, but we'll keep the 24 in here. And then just vectorize it. So it goes away and it has a think about it. Now, it's taking a little bit of time. It would not take this long if you had just downloaded this and installed it, because I've got it set up to maximum, just because I can. Maybe not the greatest idea I've ever had, but that was where I left it while I was doing some testing with it. Right, so what you've got there now, that is a vector version of the photo you had. Now, it's very good in terms of accuracy because if you look at the first option, it's details. And this slider was just under halfway initially when I just opened the application. I took it all the way across to the right to see how accurate I could get it in a vector. And as you can see, that's pretty good. If I hover over this to show the original, there's very little difference, certainly around the 2, the 9 and the 16. Very little difference. You can also here zoom in and have a look how good it is. So make sure we can see the whole thing. So you can take this down and it would then be less accurate, shall we say. But the reason that you may want to do that is, as it says here, the fewer paths there are, the easier it is to edit. So if what you wanted to do was make some edits to it, then fewer paths might be the way to go. You've also got the second option, which is curving the smoothing. So curve smoothing. When it detects curves, it wants to know how soft you want them. So do you want no smoothing at all, so they're as accurate to the original as it deems it should be, or do you want to smooth them a bit? Now that will very much depend on the image. In this one, on the one hand, it's quite simple because it's black and white, but on the other, it's not that easy for a vector because there's drop off on the focus on it. So the 2, the 9 and the 16, well the 6, pretty much pin sharp. The rest of it, less so. So you might want to smooth that a bit. And then you've got whether you show the contours or not. Now the contours actually go round the edges of the detail. So it's taking its sweet time here because obviously I've got a lot more detail. Where that would be relevant is if you wanted something like a bird edged in it. It's not made that much difference here, and I don't think it's actually improved it. But basically the contour puts a black edge around everything, and in there it doesn't particularly need it. Then you've got the gradients option, which in this one it is using because the colour is changing. Although it's black and white, there's variants of grey in there, particularly on like the 8 and the 411 and the 18. Then underneath you've got groups, where it's looking for approximate groups. So what it's saying is if you enable that option, then the paths will be grouped. So technically all the paths for the 9 should be grouped because it's not touching anywhere else, so it would know that that was one object. And then the last option is the image enhancement, where you can choose to enhance the source image before it actually struts its stuff. It might make it more complicated, it might make it better, it might make no difference. It's going to depend very, very much on the image. So we've got that. You can still crop at this point if you want to crop some more out of it up at the top, or you can export it. So we'll go and export it. The export options have a couple of standard options and one which is the Logoist file if you have Logoist. I had an older version of Logoist. I don't believe I have the latest, so I'll leave that out of it. But if you wanted to put this into a presentation straight away without taking it anywhere else and doing any other kind of editing, then you can choose to save it as a PDF. If you wanted to take it in and do some editing, maybe colorize some bits of it, then you could save it as an SVG. And it says, as it says there, it's supported by almost all modern browsers, although I don't tend to upload SVGs myself. And many vector illustration applications, of which Affinity Designer is one. So I'm going to save it as an SVG now. And we will put that on the desktop.
Neil wants to know, why would I vectorize a complex bitmap?
If you wanted to scale it much bigger than the bitmap that you've got. I wouldn't do it with photographs and things, but people do. That particular thing there, if the copy I had of the photo was really tiny and I wanted it to be like the front cover of something, then vectorizing it is an option to enable you to scale it. Another thing you might want to do, if you think about the example I gave of like outlining it with the contours, if you add the contours to it, it would be possible to take a photograph and convert it into the kind of thing you would see in a child's drawing book, where you get the outline and then they colour it in. You could actually take away the colours and you would be left with the contours. But other than that, it isn't something that I do a lot. My main use for this is when I have an image of a logo that I need for a presentation and I need it much bigger than it is. And I use, up to this point, I've used Super Vectorizer, but who knows? Vectorize might be better. Okay, so I've got this SVG here. So I'm going to double click that to open it. On my system, it's set to use Affinity Designer to open that. She said, hoping nothing else has taken over. No, it's fine. It's just taking its sweet time to have a think about it. There we go. I have not had good performance out of Affinity stuff on Catalina. I'm blaming Catalina. Right, and that's what we get, which I think is pretty good. I don't think you can tell that's actually been converted. It's that good. Now, what it does do, which isn't Affinity Designer-ish, is it brings it in as a single layer, which is not an artboard. When you open that up, you've got 3 million curves, all these curves, which are not grouped together. So there was that group option. The 2 there's pretty good, but there are extra bits around it that it, again, has not grouped together. And you've got a huge bit there. So you may want to group this together just to work with it, is the point, or make any changes to it. So if we look at the 2, where did the 2 go? Are you the 2? Hang on. No, you're not, are you? Higher up. There we go. There's the 2. Right. One thing I might want to do is grab the whole of the 2 like that. So you can see there's different bits of it there and group that together. So now I do have a group and that looks like it's the 2. What I would say about that is when I open it up, there's a lot of other bits to it, including some bits that are outside the 2. So having a quick look through it, what I don't actually want is that bit up there. So I would want to take that outside of the 2 and make sure that I only have the 2. And the reason that I would be doing that is with just this 2 here, I might want to put some effect on that or other. So I've got my effects in here. I might want to blur it more. So I want to group it together to blur it. And hopefully that will blur when it has a think about it. What I would tend to do with this, because there's so many pieces to it, it starts to slow down. So one of the things I could do is grab all of this lot and actually make it one entire piece, which is hidden away under here. I would want, in this case, to add them all together, and now I have one bit. Now, the problem with doing that is it's gone a bit grey. So that's one thing you'd have to think about. But that's what you can do with it. So that one's not bad. I don't think that one's bad. And the benefit is, if I were to then export this, and I could do this from here, or I could do it directly from Vectorize, is if I make a PDF of this, I can scale it in Keynote. So if we have a look at the whole thing here, that is only 500 pixels wide and 407 tall. My use case would be to have that probably 1280 wide. So one thing that I can do is, first of all, let's make sure we've got an artboard. So we now have an artboard, and that is sat on an artboard. It's also sat in a layer, which is doing no good in here, but you could leave it like that if you want. I tend to put stuff in groups to work with it. So let's just group the whole lot, and that way you can put it on the artboard up there and then lose the layer, because layers are supported in Affinity Designer, but mainly tend to work with groups. So what I might want to do then with the artboard is change the size of the artboard to 1280. Now it's more than 720, but that's because it's nearly square. So that would be the width of my slide. And then I can grab this, and that will then fill that. So if I exported that now, I wouldn't lose any quality. I could export that as a PDF, so let's do it. There's artboard 1, which is what it is. It's a PNG at the moment, but I can change it and say a PDF. Save that onto the desktop, and then I could use that in my presentation, lose no quality at all. So let's go to the desktop. That's not the desktop. That's the desktop. There we go. And it looks exactly the same as the smaller version did, so you don't lose quality. That is the point with it. But that was a black and white one, wasn't it? So we got any more questions at that point?
No.
Right. I will go and get the next image then. Oh, it's always exciting, isn't it, when it's not an image you've tried. Let's have a look. Other image. That should take us back to where we were. Right, I'll try that birthday one for Jonathan. That's going to be interesting, isn't it? Because it's got a gradient on the background of it there. That could be horrific in terms of, the one thing that I don't like with this is, I don't get any option at this point to set up the Vectorize option, which means it's going to take a long time because of the previous settings. So I'll click it and we'll wait. But I would like to be able to say, you know, move the sliders down back to the left to save me time to see if this is something that I think could work well or not without having to sit here while it calculates the... Have a look and see how it goes. Getting there. Not bad considering I've got it as high as it will go. And that's pretty good actually, isn't it? That is not bad at all. Let's do a hover. Not bad at all. So I'll do exactly the same with that. I can have a play around with these, see if it improves it or not. So let's put the contours on and you should see you get like a black outline. And it's putting a black outline around every single path. It did tell me originally how many path points I had, but that seems to have disappeared. But away we go. Calculating the vectorization, and there's the black points. So what you could do with that when you take that into any other application is take out the colour blocks, and then you've got basically like a colouring book, an item within a colouring book. I don't think the contours had anything to that at all. I think it would look far better if it was more akin to the original. So I'll take those away. We'll do another export. This time I'll export as a PDF directly from here. Because if that image that I had there was really tiny and I needed it to fill a 1280 by 720 slide, then that is what I would do with it. So go to the export, save as a PDF, birthday. And irrespective of what size that actually is, and it's not bad, I could stretch it to whatever size I like and I wouldn't lose any quality out of it. Right, what was the last one I had here? Oh, helpfully unnamed. Oh, this one was a laugh. I thought this one would be funny, given what's coming up. So, other image. This was just something that came in an email for Snagit. Now, technically speaking, that at the point of creation was a vector. It's now not a vector. So I'm taking an original vector that's been converted into a bitmap and then converting it back into a vector and seeing how far we go. Not bad, not bad. The text would probably need something doing with it, but the rest of it you'd probably get away with. So it's not done a bad job on any of those without making too many changes. So I'll do another one of those. Snagit. And let's see if I can get that last thing working. That'd be cool. So I'm going to go back to other image and let's have a look what it's doing here. Okay, I've got one in front of me. So let's have a look at that one. What are you called? Who are you? Right, fur. I have fur. Is fur showing? Typical. There's fur. Okay. Let's do the take a photo and see what actually happens. So let's get that pointing the right way. Take a photo. Right, it's appeared. Okay. Should we take a photo of my Mac and a cable? There we go. That's a shame you can't see it. Right, I've got it. You can see the dust on it. Right, so I've literally just taken that. Dust on the leg there. At least you can see the desk. You couldn't about 20 minutes ago. Okay, let's take that up. Let's take that down so we don't have the white document. Excellent, and let's vectorize that. At least it worked and it found all the iPads. Can't say fairer than that, can you, Mike?
No.
Let's move that down. Why is it called fur? Ah, Jonathan. What year was this iPad, Mike? Let's have a look. What year was the 10.5 inch released? I've got a sneaking suspicion it was 2017. 2017. It's called fur because of Mayer and all his fur. So there is a bit of a longer story with it, but the short version is Mayer and his fur. So yes, it's called fur. And I have feather as well. Right, that didn't do bad, did it? That's not bad at all. Does it work well on iPad OS from a picture taken? It's exactly the same. So whatever I'm showing you here is the same quality that you would get. That was taken with that iPad, which is a 2015, 16? 17 you just said. 2017 iPad. So it's certainly not the latest. Because of the gradient, because of the lighting, you have got some kind of gradient thing going on here, but it's not bad. That is not bad. Let's export it as a PDF and have a look at it. That way we can zoom in. All right, desk and iMac. You can tell it's vector, but it's not at all bad, I don't think. You could go in and you could tidy that up. You could get rid of little marks like that there. But the rest of the screen is just really showing you a gradient. So if you did want that kind of look, and you can make it what I would say more cartoony, more vectorish by taking that slider down. So if we say that one that we've got there is 743. If you take that down to the halfway point, it will look more vectorish, but you'll get less artifacts on it. So let's do an export of that. Save as PDF. Most of the time you think you want more detail, but to be honest, if you're turning something into a vector, it could well be that you actually don't. So the Apple logo is pretty decent. You could get rid of that and possibly change this a little bit, but then that is more vectorish. So I'm quite liking that. And what I would want to do, so let's come out of there. I can't do it with that image, but we can do it with the Snagit image. Is try it in the other one. So my other tool of choice has been Super Vectorizer, which is very similar. It doesn't give you as many options, to be honest. So let's try the Snagit one. Now, what is different with this is this does give you a preview instantly, and then you can start fiddling with it over here. So you have two modes. You have mode 1 and you have mode 2. And all they actually are two like presets, which are underneath here. So mode 2 has these combine similar regions and remove smaller regions. With this one, you're going to get more accurate if you give it more colours. So that is actually fairly accurate to the original. Looks a little bit blurryish around the edges, but then to be honest, the original is. So you could do an edge enhance to make it look more detailed, less blurry. You can now see the face much better. So this allows you to make changes to it before you actually choose to export it, and that bit I do like. And you can also zoom in, but we don't need to move in that far, do we? So yeah, you can see him around the face and the hand and the light bulb. That's all looking pretty decent. And we can drag him across so we can see as well. And I'm using the wheel on the mouse to zoom in. This is the result. You can also see the original at the top. You can get a preview of it. And then you can have a look whether mode 1 is more accurate than mode 2. And in this case, the two are very, very similar. In fact, now it's sorted itself out. The face you've lost detail on the face. So I would probably go with mode 1 on that. And then you just need to export it. And it does export to SVG, PDF, AI, and DXF, which I do believe is some draw format. So we'll have that as Snagit Super Vectorizer. I'll make that PDF so we can have a look at it. So Snagit Super Vectorizer. And let's do a comparison between that one. Zoom out a bit. And that one. And I do believe, if memory serves correct, you can do a proper comparison here. In fact, it would probably be better if I did that, wouldn't it? Oh, I want you to use the other one that's already there, crying out loud. Right. There we go. So the top one, which was Vectorize, you've lost the eyes. But I didn't make any changes to that one. I would say that the lower one is probably the better one, although the graphic looks better there. But just to show you the difference really between the two of them. Right, okay. Would I recommend it? For me, it's handy to have that ability on iOS. So I wasn't particularly purchasing for the Mac because I already had Super Vectorizer. But I didn't have anything to do that on iOS. So that was why I actually went for it. Plus the fact the developer's great. Whenever I've had a problem with like Screenium's not working, they always fix it very, very quickly. So would I recommend it? Certainly if you're working on iOS and you have the need to do that. It's a bit like I'd never had the need to scan a document until I had the need to scan a document, isn't it? And then I needed to find an app that I could scan a document with. So hopefully that'll give you an idea of how good that is and whether that is something that you would like to have a look at. So as I say, it's currently $8.99, but that bizarrely, because I've never done that before, gives you access to the iOS versions as well. One for each. So there's a dedicated iPad OS version and another version for the phone. So let me actually have a look. I am loath to start demonstrating the phone because stuff always happens. It doesn't like me. But let me have a look in there. Prove the point. Yes, it's actually got. So let's see if I can share that. Let's go back up a bit. Let's see if I can share that. Should we do the air server thing? I'll have a laugh. Technically speaking, it's supposed to work.
Does exporting from Affinity Photo as SVG lead to the same advantages?
Yes and no. Yes, in terms of you would then end up with an SVG that you could scale, etc., but you wouldn't have the degree of control. It would start off the size it is, and then you would be scaling it up from there. I would use something like this to give you that granular level of control. But if you didn't want to purchase this, then you stick with that method. It says it's connecting. Oh, it's not lying. It's a miracle. Right, there it is. So I haven't actually installed it yet. All I did was search for Vectorize, and there it is on this iPad. This is the iPad, that hasn't had it installed. So although I didn't purchase it through the iOS App Store, it's one of these newfangled bundles, which means I can tap the install button and it will go away and install it, and I don't have to worry anything about it. So let's have a look at all of this. We put that on there, and you get exactly the same interface, and it works in exactly the same way. Little bit of benefit there. There's a manual for it as well. So it's the same app. It behaves the same. You'll get the same results. Really, if you think about it, that's what Apple want. They want iPads to be deemed to be as capable as a Mac. Which isn't something that I like to think about, but that's just me. So $8.99 at the moment, and it covers you for all your devices. Oh, I'm going to need that iPad, aren't I? Because we're going to wrap up looking at shelf apps. So last week, we were busy looking at shelf apps on the Mac. And we said they only came about from 2011. And that was because full screen mode was launched with 10.7 Lion. Changes were made over the years, etc. Lion was one of the big things with changes in terms of what it supported and what it didn't. And we said how dated it looked. More changes, but on macOS you had three options. You had Yoink, which is the grandfather of them all. You had the newer one from Pilot Moon, which is Drop Shelf. And even newer than that, you had Gladys. So those were the ones that we looked at on macOS. What we are now looking at is what's available on iOS. And there's no Drop Shelf. But basically you have two apps that are the same apps that are available on your desktop. So, different iPad for this one. Little bit of a bigger screen. This one's called Geronimo. Jonathan, just in case you're interested. That one was named Geronimo because there was a song. Was it Shepherd? who did Geronimo. And it was on at the dentist every time I went in, and I was in the dentist every week for 2 years. And every time I went in there, Geronimo came on. And when I got my iPad, I thought I've got to call this iPad Geronimo. Anyway, right. So we're going to look at Yoink and Gladys. They both do a very similar job. Which one should we start with? I think we'll start with Yoink. So let's go share this iPad. And up we go. Having a think about it. This one is an 11-inch iPad Pro. There we go. Called Geronimo. Right, I will make that a bit bigger. And hopefully it'll behave itself and all will work well. There we go. Right, so as I say, I'm going to start off with Yoink. Right, this has some stuff on it that is real stuff that I worked with ages ago, and one that I did today, which is in the top corner. But what you're looking at is the interface of Yoink. You have the ability in here to copy and paste stuff, and it will work as a side-by-side application. So, to make much sense, you would need to go into an app. I've actually got that sharing with Gladys at the moment, and make a new Pages file. And imagine yourself starting to work with this. Now, at the moment, my new Pages file got no content. If I already had content in Yoink, which I do, I can bring them up side by side, and I can change this a bit so I've got more room. And I can actually drag and drop content outside. Now, for this to make total sense, you need to have somewhere to grab the stuff from, obviously. Nothing to stop you in Yoink keeping a library of repurposable content. But I think I started possibly with Safari, which is not like me, trust me. There we go. Safari. Right. So let's go to my blog. Oh, we found it. Excellent. There we go. So I'll go find a story, which is actually a proper one with some text in. I think I tried that one. That's got lots of text in it, so we'll try that. And a graphic. So you place your... Well, the easiest way to do it is to place your clipboard extender, or Yoink in this case, to the side. And then you find what you want, and you can drag and drop that in here. So you can go around and do all of your collecting wherever you want. So that was where a demise came from. So if we wanted to get another demise, tap and hold on that and then grab the text that you want. You can do a copy, and then you can go over to Yoink and you can tap the paste at the top and it should paste that in. So another demise is at the top. And you can carry on doing that. I mean, you don't have to do it paragraph by paragraph. So tap and hold again, drag it all the way down, get lots of text. Why you would be copying out of my blog post, I don't know, but I might be copying out of my blog post. Right, so I'll do that, do a copy and paste into Yoink. So it's a holding area. I think on the Mac it makes a lot more sense because you've got your mouse, you've got the full screen view and you're dragging down to a pop-up shelf. You have to be more deliberate on the iOS. But given the fact iOS has strict limits on its clipboard, then it comes into its own in that way. So we've got that in there. So what I'm now going to do is go back and get Pages and put Pages over on that side. So we got the demise text in, that's fine, but what we don't have is the graphic at the top, and I would like the graphic at the top. So I can go find the graphic, tap, hold, drag across, drop. Once I'm in here, I can start moving it around and scaling it in any way that you like, thus. And if I want that extra text there at the bottom, I've got a couple of options. So I positioned myself where I want the text, and it was this text. the whole shebang up there. So you can go into it and you can have a look at the text. You can copy it from there, but the easiest way is to tap, hold, drag, drop. And what it's dropping is fully formatted text from the blog post, including the links that we've got there, Adobe Audition and Hindenburg. So the principle of it is really simple. I personally think the biggest problem would be adapting your mind to this workflow, because that's not really the way that you would work on a desktop. But once people start going on an iPad, I think they would have more need for this kind of thing. As I say, making a library of it is a great idea. And some of these things, you can lock them in there. You can have it that you delete stuff. So I've got 2 in there. I've got the demise one, haven't I, which is that one. So I can go into there, I can copy it, I can share it straight from there. So if it's like a canned reply, you could actually share it in a text or something. You can do a quick look and actually see the whole of the text. You can look at the info of it. So tap on info and it gives you what format it is, where, etc. You can preview it with the eyeballs, so turn it on and off, and you can send it in specific formats from here as well. So you can share it with the 3 share buttons. Let's go back in there again. You can choose to rename it. If you wanted to do that, you can select the whole thing, or you can actually edit it. So if it was some text that you've copied and you realise there's a mistake in it, then you can even go in and edit it. So it's a fully featured app. There is, up here, a cloud icon. And when you tap it, it says Sync Cloud option, iCloud. So you have an option to turn iCloud on or turn it off. You don't really need much more than that, do you? And it is actually turned on at the moment. But Yoink on my desktop, where I am tethered to Apple via the same Apple ID. If I bring up Yoink, there's nothing there, despite the fact it says it's synchronized. This has been the holy grail for months and months and months, years in fact now. And what that iCloud thing is doing is it's synchronizing the iOS version to iCloud. It is at no point synchronizing to the desktop version, which is most unfortunate. But if I were to go into another iPad, which you have seen me go into, so let's see if this you're going to work for me. There we go, second iPad. Right, the one on the left is Fur, the one on the right is Geronimo. So the same stuff should be synchronizing. Is the iCloud option turned on? Should be, should get there. Maybe at some point it will. Can we force it in some kind of way? It should be, but it's not. It might take a little bit longer. But it's synchronizing up to iCloud. It's not synchronizing across devices, but it's not synchronizing to the Mac desktop. Don't expect that because there are no options at all. So let's bring that one back. And I think that's pretty much it for what you can do in there. I must admit, there are other applications that are not really shelf applications, but they are clipboard extenders that do synchronize between iOS and macOS. And that's why I tend to use those rather than Yoink. Yoink has a different methodology, a different way of working. So Neil's saying, does it have a document store? Well, you can choose down here whether the files are locked or unlocked. So if I take one of these, so let's try the exit strategy one, and I drag that down there, it actually disappears now from here. So the document store is created by putting the lock on, so it doesn't actually drag it out. I think you'll find the other one far better. Can you access Yoink from the File app? You can. Yoink is a document server, so anything that's in there, you can access via anything that supports that. So let's go into the files in here. Yoink files. So it's got them either as a PDF, as an individual file. It's got it as a graphic. If there's some text, it tends to be putting it in a folder because it needs to store it in different formats. It needs to store it as rich text. It needs to store it as text. But yes, it's exactly the same level as any other provider that is being provided in here. So I've got my iCloud Drive and, oh, I've even got the new snazzy icon for Google Drive, and all of the others. So yes, it does work in that way. So Yoink, the only thing with Yoink is that it doesn't synchronize from iOS to macOS. If it did, it would be amazing. But it does provide in here that you can get to its content, yes. Right, the next one. The next one is Gladys, which was late to the party, but this is Gladys. This is complete clean install of Gladys as well. Not done anything with Gladys. But works in exactly the same way. So we take the Pages app and let's say we wanted to take some of this text. So let's tap and hold on that and drag down to the bottom. And we can drag that text into Gladys. We can also drag the image. We had an image at the top, didn't we? Let's grab the image and drag that and drop into Gladys. So far they look pretty much identical, don't they? And up to a point, they actually are. Let's have a look here. And I can do the copy and paste thing, but for the fact that the copy button has vanished. Right, copy. Should be able to go into Gladys and paste. Pasted from Pages, there you go. Probably pasted far too much in from Pages, but that's pasted from Pages. Right, within Gladys itself, you have the option here to add labels to items, which would enable you to filter them. So in terms of what Neil was talking about with the document store, it would enable you to filter items based on a tag. So that's a good idea. You also have in here the ability to tidy them up by making multiple selections, and you can then choose to send them somewhere, thus, or delete them, or edit notes on them by adding a label. So I'll delete those two, delete the two items, boom, gone. Now, what I think is interesting in here is if I go into the settings, I get this sync option. And I've not synchronized this at all. So this is live. I must be insane. Right. I'll run Gladys. Hang on. There's Gladys. I'll run Gladys on the Mac. And I haven't touched that since last week. Those were the 4 things that we threw into Gladys last week. So let's move the iPad a bit. And what I'll endeavour to do is get the thing synchronizing. iCloud live demo. Okay. Do you want to upload the existing items? Yeah, let's do that. So I've set it to always. It's got 4 items. It's sending them up to iCloud. iCloud sync is done. Excellent. Let's see if that does any good. Right. I can't remember if we did the same in here. I have no recollection whatsoever if that was an option, if we did it. I reckon the preferences are probably hidden behind here. There they are. iCloud Sync, we did not turn it on. Right, if you have previous items, they'll merge with the existing. This may upload to, yeah, let's just do that. Let's just do that. So sending 4 drops. So it's sending these drops. And they are appearing over here. So if it's synchronization that you want, Gladys beats Yoink. This is why we have more than one app, isn't it, Mike? Why are you not scrolling like... Oh, because I've got the preferences open. But they're hidden behind here. Right, let's bring them back. Okay, so now we should be able to scroll. So this is what we had from iOS. This is the text we had from iOS. And all of the images that we had from last week have now synchronized over here. So we can actually go in and look at that. So when you tap on it, you get any labels, or you can add labels to it. So I could add a label to that, and that's actually a poster. And I would have another poster, which is that one. That is also a poster. So I can add those. And that means in here, I can do a search and filter for poster. And there are 6 items with no labels, and I can see those as well. Or I can choose to see all of the items irrespective of if they have a label or a tag, whatever you would like to call it. There you go. I think that one, because the synchronization's quite cool. The other thing is, at the moment, I haven't paid for Gladys. There is a limit on the number of items that it will let you store. But if you only want to use it very lightly, if you don't intend to make a huge library in Gladys and start, all my posters are in there and I'm going to drag and drop them into the writing on my iPad. If you only use it lightly, so maybe you would have 10 to 12 items in it and then clear them out and then move on to the second job, you could probably get away without paying. But if you would like to build some kind of system, some kind of library system, it's only 99 pence on macOS and 99 pence on iOS. I will say the interface, I'm not overly fond of that, what would you call it, dirty grey interface. And I think the interface on the Mac is fairly primitive too, but it does its job. It does its job. Yoink is prettier, but even so. Neil can't get past the fact that Gladys is the name of the New South Wales Premier here in Australia. Well, it's like Alfred, isn't it? Yeah, these things have names. Hazel, Alfred, Gladys. We'll have things called Dave and Mike next. It'll cause chaos. I do think it's a very... Oh, yes, Cyril, the iPad Cyril. And Jonathan's preference for the next iMac at MacBites headquarters, Biggles. Got to be done. Do you know we never did get baby iPad Harold? I was going to buy an iPad mini, this is yonks ago, way before they even announced one. And it was when it arrives, we took a vote and everybody decided it should be called Harold. Only we never got one. So we have a name and no iPad. Never mind, I'm sure there'll be an iPad soon. But I've taken to naming them after other things and I've actually got a list. I've got a list of potential names. I think Gladys is very, very functional. Very functional. Possibly more so than Yoink, but Yoink is prettier. I wouldn't particularly want to lose that much on macOS desk space, having Gladys sat there like that all the time. So on macOS, I tend to use Dropshelf and Yoink. On iOS, I can see I'd be using Gladys, and then it would depend on whether what was inside Gladys that is synchronizing to iCloud was what I wanted access to, in which case I'd need to open up Gladys on macOS. However, it should be fairly simple to transfer the things between. So nothing to stop you using multiple ones of these for different things. No, it gets confusing, doesn't it? But there you go. Oh, Jonathan, I'm liking this. It's an excuse to buy an iPad, just to call it Harold. And indeed, an iMac to call it Biggles. What about having one called Jonathan? No, it'd be chaotic. I know it would be chaotic.
It'd go into sleep mode fairly quickly.
Ooh, nicely done, Mike. Nicely done. No, I know it would be chaotic because in 1999, I bought a PC. And I called it Maya. This was 2 years before we had a dog called Maya. The machine lasted about 4 or 5 years, and it was, have you turned Maya off? And Mike could go, pardon? I said, the machine. So no, we're not going to call things by a name that's something else because chaos ensues. But I think given the price of all these things, there's something to have and something to have configured, and then they're there when you need them. I think you would need to consider your workflow, particularly on iOS, to become used to using it in that way. The reason that I don't particularly use it in that way is that I have 2 other applications. There is Copied and there is Copy and Paste. No, Copium. It's called Copium now. Was called Copy and Paste, now called Copium. And both of those have iOS versions and both of them synchronize with the desktop. So anything that I copy on my desktop is available on my iPad. That could get overwhelming in which case there would then be a case for Gladys. Of the two, I would probably use Gladys. A couple of other things with Gladys that were interesting. When I tapped, was it that one there? No, it wasn't. Which one was it? Wasn't that one either. Hang on. Let's get back into Gladys and back in over here. There was a button there that has totally disappeared. Where's that gone? That one. Which gives you another view of Gladys. So at this point, I should have something in here. So I've got my birthday thing and I tap on it and it shows me the meta of the birthday poster in a separate window. So I can actually choose to leave open the Gladys window and have another window open with the information in. It's a very nice, very well thought out application. I'll probably pay for it just so it's there and ready. Because what I don't like is having a need on an iPad or on a Mac to do something and then think, oh, there's an app that does that, but I haven't actually configured it properly, because then it slows me down while I configure it. But what do you guys think? Let me know. Let's lose Gladys and lose our server. And clear out this one, get rid of Yoink as well. There we go, all sorted. Let me know. Kim says, if I don't use something a lot, I forget I even have it. Like Super Vectorizer. That's true. That happens to me as well, I must admit. But the thing that annoys me more is knowing that I've got it and I haven't installed it and configured it. So on the desktop, well, on iOS, I would definitely be using either Yoink or Gladys. They are the best ones to use. Yoink is $5.99. But it doesn't synchronize. It only synchronizes between iOS devices. It doesn't synchronize back to the Mac, whereas Gladys does. Gladys is free. Everything you saw tonight was totally free. No ads in it or anything. So for limited use, it's totally free. Other than that, it's 99 pence for iOS and 99 pence for Mac. There are options to give them a tip beyond that. But you could get away with 99 pence on each platform and have a very capable solution. Right, okay. Oh dear. Oh dear, oh dear. Head desk. Yes, Snagit 2021. The way that TechSmith work, they have adopted an annual release schedule for both Camtasia and Snagit. Snagit always comes out in October. And Camtasia comes out, I think it's the end of March, early April. The reason that it's annual is they want to sell it to you, and at the point they sell it to you, they want to sell you a maintenance contract. And the way that they sell you the maintenance contract is twofold. One, they give you a training course, a certification course, and that whoever they've hooked up doing this training course with, if you complete it, and it's not difficult, but it's not that easy either. You would have to watch the videos because the right answer isn't necessarily the right answer. It's their answer. You can put that on your LinkedIn profile. And you only get that if you take the maintenance. The second way they try and sell this to you is to guarantee you the next version for free covered by the maintenance contract, which is why the release date is a given. It's got to be within 365 days of the last release, because that's how long the maintenance lasts. So on day 364, woo, new version of Snagit. So last year, when the new version came out, and it was 2020, there was new features. It was great, and we all dashed off. I think I took the 30-day trial or something, because my maintenance isn't due till November. So I definitely did something different. But this time it arrived. There wasn't much in the way of any guidance as to anything that was new. So as we've discussed, literally, I looked at it, I went through the menus. There were 2 new flashes in the menus, and that was it. But when I actually went into them, I thought, this looks like last year's. So it really was that bad. So what I then did was I had to literally delve deep and dirty into the thing to find anything that was new. There are some new things. What they've done is they've categorised them into specific categories, and they very cleverly called them 2.0. So the categories they've gone off into are the Simplify tool is now the Simplify tool 2.0. The templates is templates 2.0. They've added extra languages, etc. And they've updated the zoom tool. But what they haven't done is add anything at all in the way of new features. They've just improved what's there. They do claim to have made it faster, which would not be a bad thing because it was never the fastest thing on the planet. That was one of my bugbears with it. Very, very powerful, not very quick. So let's go in and actually have a look at it. See if we can find new things. Right. Right. This is actually my working system. So if you've never seen Snagit before, it is a screen capture utility. What sets it apart from all of the other screen capture utilities, of which there are doubtlessly thousands, I have no idea what that's doing there, we'll find out, is the way that you can edit the screenshots. Now, if I'm taking a screenshot and I just want to use it as is, in Keynote, in PowerPoint, in Word, wherever, I tend not to bother putting it into Snagit. It's nothing against Snagit, it's just purely speed. However, if I'm going to do some work on it, then I will use Snagit. So one of the examples that I give, and I use this for real, so we will have seen this one, and it's all right, Mike will be fine seeing this one again. I would go into here and I would put Newcastle MUFC match. And it should give me a result, thus. So I would then click on that. Now, I would use that in my presentation, but what I wouldn't do is want this bit in the middle. So this bit here, don't need that at all. Otherwise, it would cover up the whole thing. Plus the fact it says Sky Sports on it, and YouTube would probably have a fit. So I need to get rid of that bit in the middle. A couple of ways of doing that. I could take the screenshot, and I could use it twice and crop it. So actually crop it out. But the best way by far is just to use Snagit. Now I don't particularly need much beyond this point. And I'm in Firefox. And that's important because Firefox doesn't particularly, security reasons, it doesn't let Snagit control it very well. So what I'm going to do so I can show you is lose that one, but open up Safari. And that way you'll get a long capture like the one that you're looking at there. So here's Safari. I'll paste in that link that we've just had. And click on it there. And I want to capture all of that. And the way that I do that is I issue the command that I use to capture a full page, which is that. And true to form, it's acting up. What is your problem now? What should be happening is I'm moving this. You can see I've got a crosshair and it's highlighting various parts of the screen. What I actually want to see down the bottom here is the ability to scroll it. So I usually have the ability to scroll it, but it doesn't look like I've got an ability to scroll it in here right now, which is typical, isn't it? Typical. Right, I will come out of it. We will give it one more go. No, it's not doing it. Crying out loud. I'd have to open up Chrome for the other one, so let's leave it like that. There we go. I've got an image. What I need to do is to crop out this middle bit. And that's where the tools in Snagit come into their own, because these are dedicated tools for editing screenshots. Now, going back years, I used to edit my screenshots because there was nothing like this. I used to edit them in Paint Shop Pro when I was working on Windows. I don't know why it never, ever crossed my mind to edit them in Photoshop. It just didn't. Paint Shop Pro had the better features. But Snagit has the best features of all when it comes to working with screen captures. So I don't want this bit in the middle. So I can use my cutout command, which gives me a horizontal cutout or a vertical cutout. It also gives me 6 other options where it'll display it as a tear. But I'm keeping it simple. I just want to say that bit there, I don't need it. Lose it. And that's exactly what it does. It takes it away and it leaves you with an image that you can't tell a piece has been taken away from. Obviously, you can go far beyond that, but that is one of the features. Do you use that one a lot? I do, because I'm always cropping stuff out.
No, I use, yeah, that's about the only feature I use.
Oh no, I do use a lot of the others. Cropping, selecting. You can do a lot with it. The issue is, this one looks exactly the same as the last one. And for things like I've just shown you, no difference. So let's try and find some differences. They say they focused on 4 areas, but what they mean is they've tweaked 4 of the tools. So the first one of those is the Simplify tool. So we'll use this one here and we'll simplify that shot. The Simplify tool was brought in the last version. The logic of it is a lot of people are using Snagit for interface design. And in interface design, they want to indicate that there's some text. But they don't want the person who's looking at the screen to be reading the text. That happens to us, doesn't it? We're like, we've just done this. Oh, what's that icon? So simplifying it means they get an idea that there'll be a paragraph of text there, but not actually see text. And that was what this Simplify tool was brought in for. And it's one of the things that has been changed. So once you're in the Simplify tool, you can turn on auto simplification. And what you get then is a simplified version of the page. In this case, a little bit oversimplified, but you can adjust the detail now. So you could dial this right back. In this case, it's not actually making much difference, is it? You can see the things flash on and off, but it's not actually making that much difference. No. But if you look at the top here, this block, it's 1 block at the moment. But if you change the detail, I'm going to reset that, it's now got 3 blocks, so you've got more detail. So depending on the image you're working with, it will simplify it to either a great degree or a much less impressive degree. So we'll leave it like that. But the changes have come from the fact that you can now have themes in here. So we've got this kind of grey thing, but you could change it to a dark grayscale. You could change it to a light grayscale, or you could create your own corporate colours and use that in the simplification process. You can also, in here, actually go in and make changes with it. So if we wanted to see that one there, we could delete that. And now we can see, right, that looks better. But what we'd probably want to do is actually move that across. Or in fact, we might want to duplicate that one. That's not working that brilliantly, is it? Which one is it? Is it that one? Could be that one. So we can actually make our own changes to this. So start off with the auto simplification and then make some adjustments. So for instance, these bits here, rather than add an extra one, you could just click on them and change that. So the idea is that it would take you from maybe 45 minutes doing this to literally 5 minutes. So that was one of the simplification options. Now in here, you've got the ability to delete the palette. You'll notice what you don't have in there, because it's just delete the palette, you've got these options, but it's not using the other palettes. So they have changed the palettes, but in here that's pretty simple so far. You can change the colours in here So you can change them on an individual basis, and you can add your own elements to it. So if over here, I mean, we know that these were the goal scorers. That one in that case shouldn't really look like that. So what we could do, because there was 4 of them, and there's absolutely no reason why the first 2 were put together. It wasn't like they were the same person or something. You could drag your own on here, and then you could scale it and indicate the fact that that is like a list. Then you can copy it, paste it, and put it over the other side. And that's what the goal scorers list would look like. So that is one of the changes. Basically, they've made it more controllable. Who's thrilled? Must admit, I don't use it in that way. I can see the benefit of it, but who uses that? Let me know if you do. Right, next thing to have a look at let me get these in the right order. Let's have a look at the themes. Okay, so when you are adding stuff to your own annotations, call-outs, anything like that, so go into the call-outs. You have in here different shapes. You also have different colours and styles, all of which are controllable by the tools options underneath. And what you see in there depends on what you have selected in the theme. And we used to have pretty much what you're looking at now. That was a basic theme. When we did another demo, we had a MacBites theme, and that was the theme we went for MacBites. What they've done, so I'm going to go for the urban one here. No, I won't. I will go for MacBites. That way you will know. What we did in there was as much as you could possibly do, which was add 3 colours to it. But if you now go into this, you have the ability to make a new theme, and you can import a theme. So if somebody has created a corporate scheme, you could import it. You wouldn't need to create it. If they have created it, they would need to export it and send it to you. But you can also edit a theme. So when we go into the edit theme option, which is all over the place on all my screens, that was what we used to have without the shadow. That was all you had. You could add 3 colours, and that was what we did. We added the 3 colours. But now you can add 8 colours. I know, be still your beating heart. And you can add 1 font and 1 style of font. So if you wanted that, you know, italic or medium or heavy, you could do that as well. So the biggest change in here is the fact that you can now add extra colours. How thrilled are we all? Must admit, it didn't float my boat that much. I would need a black one in there, definitely. And I would probably use white more than I would use some of these. But, you know, we'll just say we'll use a bright red, won't we? That's hideous. Right, so that's our MacBites one. And the ability to add a shadow to it. Now, all you're doing here is saying, generally, I'd like a shadow. If you don't want a shadow at the point you come to use it, you can toggle it off with the stuff at the bottom in the tools preferences. So let's say I wanted to put one of these on. So we'll drag and drop that on there. Right, then I can start typing. Hello, Goodwin. And it's the font that we selected. It's got the shadow on it, and it's a colour that is in our palette. But once you've created it, you can then start working with it. So if you wanted to pick up a colour, you could click on the red. You could click then on the eyedropper, and you could hover over here and get that nice blue. So you're not stuck with it. And if you don't like the shadow, then you can come across to the shadow under the tools properties and take it away. And then you don't have a shadow on it. And you've also got all of the opportunities in here to change the size and shape of it and all the rest of it. And move it without moving this point. So with this point attached to that, you grab the middle, you're working around it, but you're not moving the original point. So basically, they've upped the stakes with the themes. Once you've created your theme, you can then export that theme. And then it's on about if there is a font that you're sharing, you need to make sure that it's either a standard font or that it's a license to use one. And in this case, Avenir, I think Avenir is a free font. If not, then I have access to the Adobe Font Library. But just be aware of that. And then you export it. So we'll put that on the desktop. It does warn you that some styles may appear differently if imported into Windows. Heaven knows why, they really shouldn't. And then what you have on the desktop, down here, is a Snagit theme. And that is what you would share. Even if you're working on your own, take the opportunity to do this. Because if you do, you'll be able to put them in a cloud somewhere, and if your machine crashes and burns, you'll be able to rebuild your system from stuff that you've actually exported. What's going on there? Neil's saying, what's this hybrid approach we're talking about? What's that all about? Going back up the chat. You can purchase it without the maintenance, and 2020 would still work. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, I think that's what he means.
We'll have a look at the end about whether it's a good idea to upgrade or not. But you did have themes in the old one. They've just extended them. So basically they've extended the themes. Right, another feature that was brand new in the last version was the template feature. But I'm going to do something else before I do the template feature, which I'm going to show you this image that was an image that I took to appear later in the presentation tonight. And I want to highlight something. So I took a scrolling image when the scrolling was working, that. And what I wanted to point out was when we go live and what you should be seeing and where you should be seeing it, which obviously means you can point to things here and all other kinds of things. Now, normally there is a live banner there, but let's say what I actually want to point people's attention to is this play button. So I would like to point out that there is a play button, but it's pretty tiny, isn't it? So one of the options that you have and have had for a while is the magnify option. So I'm going to keep this fairly simple. We'll do a red one. And I want to magnify that bit there and draw attention to the fact that there is a play button. Now, up to now, what you've been able to do with that is make it bigger or make it smaller. And that's it. And the sizing handles to do that have been around the edge, which is red in here. But if I just hover over the red edge now, it's square. Whereas before, those handles were on the edge of the circle, which makes far more sense, doesn't it? It does, except for one thing. So I'm going to click on here and I can scale that. Right, so I can make sure that looks about right there. So it's virtually in the middle. But the reason that it's changed is once you click, the handles change. So as you're hovering, they're like circles, white circles with a very thin outline. Once you click, everything becomes much darker. And what you can now do is size it for a start, but you also have this option in the middle to pull it away. So that was not available at all before. Before, when you did that, it had to be bang on top of it. It makes a lot more sense to pull it away, scale it at this end, and then pull that away. And then you will have space to put more text with it. So I think that's a big improvement. If I wanted to highlight that, instead of pointing arrows to it and stuff, I could actually use the magnify option. And pull it on there, grab the middle and pull it away. I just think that looks a lot better. Okay, so that to me was the biggest thing I found. It was like, oh, That's nice. But there's in the help, all it says is, I can't even remember the name they give it. They do give it a name, but there's no help. There's no explanation. It doesn't explain that the handles change and that the middle bit allows you to drag. It doesn't tell you anything like that. So I think they're a bit behind with their documentation for the new version. But yeah, that's one of the nice new features. And bearing in mind, of course, that here you can change the colours and the shape. So it might make sense for something to actually have that in there or round the corners off or something like that. So if you have bought your maintenance like Jonathan and you're a little bit on the disappointed side, now there's something to get excited about. Jonathan, I expect to see this all through your documentation just because you can. Plus the fact no one else is going to know about this because it doesn't appear that TechSmith know much about it either. So all good news on that front. Okay. Right, next thing then. Templates. Now when you look through here, this is one of the new buttons. So new flash, it says create image from template. It's like, okay. But that was there before. And there was one other somewhere in here. Which has vanished. That could be because I've used it. So this thing only says new for a while. And I left this one alone. So the templates were there in the previous version. 2020 was the first version that had these. If you've ever used anything like Clarify, it's similar, but not as powerful. But this was a hit when it came out in 2020, which was last autumn's version. The issue with it was people wanted it to be much more configurable and they wanted much more to choose from. And you now do have many more to choose from. So the last time they were fairly basic, but this time you do have some decent stuff here. So like this phone one for a start. So if I took a screenshot on my phone, which I think I did, let's take another one, shall we? You see all my notifications. Ouch, that's not good. 23, I clearly blinked. And 3 to update. All right, let's airdrop it to Serenity. Having a think about it. Okay, so I now have an image. And there's my image. So let's get that off there. Drag and drop the image in to the bottom. And there's my screen. So if I went for this one, I could create that. And I have a drop zone. And I can take one of my images and I can drop it in the drop zone. Clearly not scaled for that phone, is it? But I can move it around. So I can drag it down and scale it, etc. But I'll leave it like that. Then you can put your title. So what does your home screen look like? Mine, not so good. Right, and then put in your caption for number 1. There is a number 1 on here, and there is a number 2 at the bottom, and you can put the caption for that. People's biggest bugbear with these was something so simple, which was this at the bottom, the Snagit thing. The thing is, it looks like it's got a lock on it, and it has got a lock on it. But you can click the lock, which means it opens for editing. So you could, doesn't zoom in too well, does it? But you could go down there. Whoa, dear me. That's a graphic. So you could go down there and add some text like this one. That's text. There we go. So you could say it was made with something, made with Clarify, right? So you can do that. You can also, if you don't want this, just get rid of it. So I don't know why they bothered putting it there in the first place. It's just annoying. Right. And that was pretty much what you could do. But if what you're doing is, and we could particularly use this one if we like, or we could take some on the Mac. If you're showing a multi-step process, you know, one screenshot inside a phone isn't going to do you much good. And that is what they've added, which is these plus signs at the side here. So I can hit plus and then say, I'd like another one of these. So this is step 3 and step 4. And then I can hit it again and I get 5 and 6. So now I've got multiple steps in a process. It's still not Clarify. It's nowhere near Clarify, unfortunately. But it is a lot better than it was. It's not an iPhone. I know it's not an iPhone. I don't think there is an iPhone, is there? It's not fitting properly. No.
Oh, you found something Johnny likes.
He likes this, does he? It's too easy to miss, though, isn't it? You go into here and you're like, it looks the same. Again, no documentation for this. But it does enable you to create multiple pages. So it's getting there, but it's very much stuck to its roots in terms of it is an image editor rather than being a document assembler, which is where the problem is as far as I'm concerned. I'll go in and create another one. So I'll choose a different one. You've got like a basic 2-step one here, or you've got the 3-step one or the 4-step one. The only problem I have with these is it presupposes that all of the steps are of the same magnitude and thus the imagery would be the same size. It doesn't accommodate when the next one needs to be a different size or anything. None of them do. The timeline ones, again, really nice, but they're not accommodating that. Possibly your best bet is to go for an individual one if you want to try and replicate Clarify. Let's have a look at the rest. No, they just expect every instance to be the same. So this is probably the best one to go for, the single portrait one. We've got created by, and it's pulling that from the system. You can put a custom name in, but what you can't do is tell it to take away the branding, which I'd get rid of it. Honestly, I'm never going to want that. So the first thing that you need to go do every time you go in is just take that and delete it. But once you've got one of these and you've taken your... Let's have that one there. Let's drag that and put that in. Right, so we've got our 1, 2, 3, 4, etc. We add the captions for each one down here, or the instruction. Put your title in, put your subtitle in. But then you can add a second step and choose the middle bit, which would technically enable you to create a kind of Clarify document, which as far as I'm concerned at the minute is the Holy Grail. Because I can't guarantee that Clarify will work down the line. You know, they've stopped supporting the product. That's their decision, fine. They did bring out a 64-bit version. But considering they're not selling it, you cannot really expect them to carry on supporting it. It's as simple as that. But this is the nearest that you've got for that. Just add in separate bits. Possibly making some custom templates and adding the ability to add extra sections. You might get to Clarify's dizzying heights at some point. I think there was also, so let's just zoom into that. I think there was also something to do with... but I'm not seeing it there. If I delete 7, does it automatically update? No, it doesn't. Which is where Clarify had the edge. So it's still... I'll be honest, when I saw last year's, I thought, can't wait for next year's. Oh, it's going to be a Clarify killer. And then this comes out and I'm like, well, first off, I was with Jonathan, like, what's new? And there's nothing. There isn't even an onboarding when you open it that says these are the new features. There's nothing. So you're left to stumble across them by yourself for a start. And then when you do, it certainly isn't the big change that last year's was. It feels like they've worked on it for maybe a month, but not much more than that, I'll be honest with you. I would still use it, but this kind of thing that you see me doing here, very infrequent would I do that. It would be quicker, as far as I'm concerned, to take my time. And these things that we have here are drop zones. So I should be able to like drop images into it. Well, I can do that with Affinity Publisher. So my time would be better spent creating templates in Affinity Publisher and pension Clarify off in that way. So use Snagit for what it's good at, which is adding numbers and highlights and cropping and cutting out and all of that kind of stuff, putting stamps on it, and then take them into Affinity Publisher. This, to me, not all there. Everything that you could do last time with the make a video from images is still there. Did anybody actually do that? because I tried it once and it was like, oh, fine. But I might record a video. I don't think it's the best way to make a video, to take still images and just show them one after another. Unless, of course, it's a beta, Mike, and there's no other alternative. Do you remember that? Apple don't let you record the screen on an iOS beta. And Mike needed to make a video of a process on an iOS beta. So I said, we'll take the screenshots and we'll make a flashing cursor. No one will ever notice the difference. And nobody ever noticed the difference. But I don't think, if you're doing a one-off and you've only got Snagit, then fine. But if you are doing that on a regular basis, get a proper app to do it, because this one will drive you mad over time. So those were pretty much the new features. They are calling them Template 2.0. And you can, here, let's get rid of that. I've pasted something in there. You are supposed to be able to change these around. I don't know in what way it's doing that. I zoom into this and find out. If I grab number 4. No, it's scrolling. Let's get the move thing. Nope, it's still... Oh, it's not doing it. It's scaling it. It's not letting me move it. Do I need to be closer? The little bit of instruction that I found said it would renumber it. I've never seen it renumber it in all the while I've been doing it. It might do. It's not doing it for me. Maybe that'll be an update. Who knows? So we have Templates 2.0. We have Simplify 2.0. We have Magnify 2.0. But as I said, there are no new tools. It's not a Clarify replacement. It's a little bit disappointing. It's finessed slightly. If I didn't have the maintenance and I'd upgraded, I'd probably be a bit on the peeved side. The only thing I'll say is I'd need to use it for longer. I've literally only had it 2 days to see if it is faster and more stable. And the other reason for updating is obviously this one is going to be optimized for Biggles, Big Sur. And the other one may not even work, or if it did, if you get a new Mac, it's going to be running in compatibility mode. Is it worth the maintenance? Well, I'm glad that I got the maintenance because I don't have to think about it anymore. I use this several times a day, every single day of the year, and it costs me £1 a month. So it's literally not even a penny a day, and it is worth that to me. Your mileage may vary. But given that, to me, I know that I'm paying £12 a year and every year I get the new version, then that's what I do. As I say, if I'd seen it, if I put it on another machine and I had to pay the upgrade, which is about £36, I'd be like, I don't think so. I don't think I would. What do you think, Jonathan? What do you think? Would you pay the full amount or not? There are a couple of decent features in there. If you've already got it on maintenance, then at least you can look at it and think, oh, well, at least there's something new. Because that's where I was at, which is there anything new? And yes, there is. Okay, let's go back in here. So the new things, that was what the old themes looked like, where you only had the colours and then the quick previews there. That was the old way of doing it. And the new way, you've got 8 unique colours and you can add shadow to it. So you're setting up a default, but you don't have to stick with it. You can make changes later. I think for me, the biggest thing was Magnify 2.0, which was ridiculous. And if you can imagine just coming to that and seeing that the handles aren't on the edges anymore, but you've got to click in a magic place to be able to pull it out. I'm just looking at it thinking, what's it doing? Because there's no help. There should be at least a we've updated this and some detail, and there isn't. But hopefully I've given you a starting point for where to go to look for things. Right, are you ready, Mike?
I will be when I've set my recording off.
That shocked him. I need to do the freebies after. That's why. Going into the freebies after Mike's done his bit. So you can keep chatting to me in the chat while I...
Right, I'm ready.
While I head over to Mike. Where's Mike? There he is. Right. You're sharing, Mike. Away you go.
Right. Okay, as many of you know, most of you probably, we present a music request show on our other radio station, Brooklyn's 196, on Saturday nights. Now, some people who are in here tonight might not know that, because they only join us for after hours, but it started at the beginning of April as a way to keep our Catenian friends entertained during lockdown. But of course now we've been joined by many of our MacBites friends. And what we do to track requests which come in during the week and on the night is we have a spreadsheet. Now, this is obviously an Excel spreadsheet, but we do it in Google Sheets. And the main reason that we do it in Google Sheets is because the sharing is better. And then we save it down as an Excel file. And I'll explain the reason that we do that in a minute. Each sheet, as you can see, contains the requests for a specific week. And the sheet names are the date in the format year, month, day, and then the theme for that week. So what we started doing, and we started this on the 4th of July, was having a theme for the week. Before the 4th of July, we just had requests.
It was a free-for-all.
It was a free-for-all, yeah. So you can see the dates there are just the dates going back to the 4th of April. And I've taken this, I've doctored this a bit, so it goes as far as last week, because I didn't want to spoil the surprise of what people have requested for tomorrow night, and also what themes we've got in future weeks. So I've removed some of those out there. Now, if all we were doing was just keeping a record of requests, it could actually have stayed as a Google Sheet. But we want to be able to use the data for things like how many times has Neil Diamond been requested, and what songs has Kim requested, and things like that. So to be able to do that, we need to combine all the sheets into a single list. And although you can actually do that in Google Sheets, Power Query in Excel lets you do it and keep the list updated as more sheets are added. So it's just an easier way to do it. So the first job is to save the Google Sheet as an Excel file, which you do inside Google Sheets. You go to File, Download Excel. Then I copied the Excel file to my VM because Power Query is Windows only, and this is what I end up with. Now, each sheet, I'm not going to go through every single sheet, but each sheet has got a table in it. And I didn't create that table myself. The table was actually created not in Google Sheets, because Google Sheets doesn't have built-in support for tables like Excel does. But because of the way the data is structured in Google Sheets with rows, columns, headers and alternate shading, when the file is open in Excel, the table is actually created and named. So if I go up to the Table Design tab, you can see this table here is Table 4. You can see that up there. And this one on the next sheet is Table 5, Table 6, and so on and so on. So Excel has automatically created those tables and called them table, underscore, and a number. So I'm going to close this file down. Now, last week I used Power Query to combine data from separate sheets in the same file. If you remember, it was the attendance tracker, and we had several sheets in one file. Then we combined those sheets together into one big list that I could then build pivot tables from. But here this week, as you've seen, the data is in one file and the combined data is going to be in a different file. There's no point creating the Power Queries, no point creating the query and any pivot tables, etc., in this file, because this is the file that's generated by Google Sheets and a new copy is generated each week. So then you'd lose your query, you'd lose your pivot tables, etc. So as a general rule, if you're getting data from somewhere else on a, say, a weekly basis, monthly basis, daily basis, don't create all your queries and pivot tables in that file. I know a lot of people that do. They download or get downloaded an Excel file, get sent to them, and then they start doing their data analysis in that. Do it in another file, because we're going to lose this file each week. It's going to be overwritten. So I'm going to start a new Excel file, and this is where I'm going to create my queries, etc. So start a blank file. So the first thing to do is go to Data, Get Data, From File, From Workbook, and choose the file by request. There it is, by request. And Neil says, is this how we get the Jonathan Isaac's birthday show list?
Oh, yes.
All will be revealed, but yes is the answer. Okay, so what it does is it actually lists all of the tables from that other Excel file and all of the sheets. And I'm just going to select any one of them. It doesn't actually matter which one I select. I can't select them all at this point. I can only select one. So I'll just literally randomly, I might as well pick the top one. And once I've done that, I'll click Transform Data. Now, the reason I'm clicking Transform Data and not Load is, yes, I eventually want to get the list loaded into the spreadsheet. But at this point, I know that I'm going to have a load of data transformation or adding steps to the query to do. So I'll transform it straight off. And this then takes us into the query editor. We've looked at this a million times. Over on the right hand side, we've got the applied steps box, which has got the source and the navigation and the changed type. Those are the three steps that are automatically created whenever you import data. I actually want to delete the navigation step and the changed type step. I just want to be left with the source step. Now, normally, as you know from past demos, Query Editor displays the data, but because we deleted the navigation step and the navigation step navigates the data, each row now contains information about sheets and tables in the file. So if you look at this, you can actually see the sheet names and then the table names. And then below that, there is some defined names, which are basically Google Sheets equivalent of range names. I want to keep just the rows that reference the sheet names. And what the sheet names have in common, and this is where setting something up in the correct way, or at least a consistent way at the beginning, comes in. I'm going to use that phrase again. Future you will thank current you.
Yep.
Copyright at Elaine Giles. But yeah, what all of those have in common... Oh, we have Lola in again.
You're not eating anymore, you'll burst.
And she's been out.
And you've been out, and if I take you out, we'll start playing football. And have you seen the time?
So... Go and settle. What?
I want to play with Excel, Daddy.
You want to play with Excel? Okay. So what these sheet names have in common is that they all begin with 2020. But just in case we're still in lockdown in 2030, and that could happen.
That will happen.
I don't know why you're laughing. It could happen.
Not.
What I'm going to do is apply a filter to show or to keep just the rows where the name starts with 20. Not 2020 or 202, but 20. So I'll click the filter button, select text filters and say begins with and begins with 20. Okay, there we go. Then I want to remove some of the columns. I want to remove the item column because I'm not interested in that. I want to remove the kind column because I'm not interested in that. And I want to remove the hidden column. So if I click on item and shift and click on hidden, that selects all of those 3 columns. And with those 3 columns selected, I will delete them. So click on remove columns and they have now gone. Now, of course, when I say they've gone, you can get them back by just removing that step, the step that actually removes the columns. But as we've done many, many times before with Power Query, it's a good idea to remove the stuff that you're not interested in. And that way, when the data goes through to the spreadsheet, you've just got the minimal amount of data. Now, something that I don't think we've covered before is that when you look in the columns that are left, the data column has a double-headed arrow against it. I don't think in any of the demos we've covered that. So I'll click on the double-headed arrow. And what that does is it gives us a whole bunch of column names. And these are the column names from the other spreadsheets, from each sheet in the other file. So if you think about the other file, the one that we looked at originally, we had a column called artist, and we had a column called title, and we had a column called requested by. And yes, Johnny, that's where we get the requested by from, and a column called have we played it, and there's various other columns. But as far as Excel's concerned, at the moment, it's not recognizing those headings I've just gone through, like artist, title, and requester, as column headings. So it's just calling them column 1 to 9. But I want to bring all those columns across into the query. But what I don't want to do is I don't want to use the original column name as a prefix. The original column name is data. And if I left that ticked, I'd end up with, in this new table that's going to be created, I'd end up with data.column1, data.column2, data.column3, data.column4, etc. So that's what use original column name as prefix means. Basically, what Power Query is doing is analysing that other file, the one with all the sheets in, looking at the columns in each sheet, and it's going to create one big table based on all of that data. But at the moment, it's just going to call them column 1, column 2, column 3, but we don't want them preceded by data. So leave all those ticked and untick that, and then click on OK. And yes, we will, Neil, we'll be into COVID 30 by then. You're probably right. Now, each table in Google Sheets, when we set the Google Sheet up, you can in Google Sheets, which you can't in Excel, define a number of rows. And although we never actually play 200 songs in a session, we play about 70 songs, we actually set it up so that each table in Google Sheets contains about 200 rows. So that means that about 130 are blank. Now, we could delete the blank rows from the Google Sheet, but we actually chose to leave them in. So if I scroll down here, and just before I do, you can now see the column heading. So basically at this point, Excel or Power Query has gone through all of the sheets in that other Excel file, and it's pulled all the data into one huge list. So it literally has combined data from 20, 30, I don't know how many there are, worksheets in that other file into one really long list. And at the moment, the column headings are just the column 1, column 2, column 3. But if I scroll down and get to about row 200. Okay, round about row 200, there we go, 207, the column names are repeated. Those are the proper column names, not the column 1, column 2, column 3. Okay, because what it's doing is it's taking the data from row 1 of the sheet called 2020 10 boys names. So that means on about row 400 we'll have the same thing. I'm not going to go through them all, there's a couple of thousand, but there we go, row 438, again we've got that repeated. So it's not ignoring the headings from the table on each sheet in Excel, it's bringing those across and is thinking that that's actually a row of data. So I need to get rid of those, and the way I'm going to get rid of those is to filter out anything where column 1 has the word played in it. So what does she want?
3 riddles. Whittling episodes, don't we?
Lola, that's why I took you out earlier.
I don't want you to go again. I don't stop you going.
No, but I usually do it in one go.
Well, aren't you the clever one?
Anyway, let's get away from Lola's toilet habits. I could have actually chosen any of those column headings. I could have said get rid of anything where column 1 is played, get rid of anything where column 2 is play hash, etc, etc. But I'm just choosing the first column. So I'll click on that filter button and I'll say create a filter where played is not equal to played, or column 1 does not equal played. And that now has got rid of those extra rows with the column headings in. Then I want to rename the first column to date. And I want to rename the, I want to remove these columns. I don't need these columns. Actually, I need column 1, but I want to rename that to, that needs to be played. And these columns can be deleted, don't need those. But we need column 4, so I need to rename that to title. And I'll rename this one to track, and rename this one to requested by. And those were comments. And I don't think we need columns 8 and 9, we can remove those. Okay, so I've got all of my data in there.
Settle down.
I just need that a bit wider, that panel. Okay, now once I've done that, there's a few other things I need to do. For example, the date column. I actually want it to show the date. I don't want it to show the date and the theme. So what I'll do here is I will go to transform, making sure I've got that date column selected. I'll go to transform, then extract, and then first characters, and choose 8. So what it does is it keeps the first 8 characters. The other thing I need to do, possibly, or maybe not. Yes, I do. I need to remove null from some of the rows. And these are those extra rows that we left in after the 70 or however many we played. Now, all I need to do is remove null from the title. So if I untick null, that will then be removed. And I think we are there. So at this point, I will close down the query editor, keep the changes. And there is our full list. So we've got the date, whether it was played, because people have requested tracks, and sometimes there've been too many tracks. So for the 5 hours, so we didn't get around to playing them. We got the title, we've got the track, and who requested it, and then some comments. So if we wanted to see which tracks Johnny had requested, I can click the drop down arrow and I can say text filter contains Jonathan. And it's only showing me 3. There was a lot more than 3. Let's do that again. Text filter contains John. There we go. And those are all the ones that Johnny requested.
Not all sure Lola
and how many did you request, Lola?
How much is that doggy in the window? Obviously.
Oh, yes. So there we go. That is how we extract the data for the birthday lists. Okay. Any questions? 3 doesn't make a show. No, there's a lot more than that. Probably Jonathan. In some of them I put Johnny rather than Jonathan. So if I did a query that filtered for anything that begins with JON, it will pick it up whether I put Johnny or Jonathan. Okay, I will pass back to you.
Yes, which would work technically. Only I can't get my file open.
Oh.
Never mind.
Do you want me to carry on?
No, I don't think there's much hope for it. I'll show the Goodnotes side of it before we head any further anyway. Right, let's get back over here. Now, what I actually had, if you remember, let's go into that. I had freebies, so I can show you the freebies, and you can download the freebies and play with the freebies if you have either Goodnotes or Notability. Right, what the freebies are is what's called stickers. They are digital planner stickers. Let me know if you digitally plan. They can be used for digital bullet journals. They can also be used within any documents that you have, including PDFs that you're marking up, inside Goodnotes or, as I say, Notability. I actually created some of my own, but these were some that I found, and they are totally ready to go. You don't need to do anything else with them. So hopefully Mike's got the link over there. Digital planner stickers. So what I was going to show you was the file we started last week, which won't open right now. Lucky me. So what I'll show you instead is how we can get the digital planner stickers in, and then I'll run the thing with the file. I will make sure I can get it open for next week, and then run it with creating our own stickers. But for the moment, I need to find the actual stickers that I've got and get you to see my iPad. But I think we'll start off with the Mac version. That's probably a good idea, isn't it? Right, let's head off into... That'll have to do for the moment. Let's come out of there. Right, let's get into Goodnotes. So Goodnotes is an app for Mac, desktop and iOS. Handily, I've already got the file in there. No, I haven't. It's moved. Darn it. Right, okay. This is Goodnotes. Let me know in the chat. Do you use any kind of digital notes where it's basically handwriting? I got very annoyed with Goodnotes. So I have looked at Goodnotes before. I switched to Notability because the beta program I was on for Goodnotes 5 just one day randomly decided they were only going to support Catalina. And I didn't have Catalina installed. So I switched to Notability for about 10 months. And the pen work on Notability was great. But what I did miss was the pages management in Goodnotes. So this is the desktop version of Goodnotes. Now, what we'd need, so I'll show you creating this on here, is a new notebook. So you have the ability to make a new notebook, a folder, an image. You can take a photo, you can import anything, and you can take a quick note. But what I actually want to create here is a notebook. When you make a notebook, you get to choose multiple things. One is what the notebook is called. So I'll call this stickers. This is the cover. You get to choose the cover. And these are the ones that are in there by default. I did make one of my own, which I don't think is in here as a template at the moment. But there's a fair few to choose from. I prefer either the very simple ones at the top, so they look like field notes, or the next one down with different colours in it. So this one's stickers, so let's have it that solid red colour. Right, the next thing you get to choose is the actual paper type. Size-wise, it's already sorted out. So if you remember last week when I was talking about the size, this is the correct size to match up with what I put in the planner for last week. But you get to choose which kind of paper. So initially they're in sections. So at the top, you've got essentials, and there's a blank one. There's dotted paper, which is very popular in bullet journals. There's squared paper, then you've got your ruled narrow, wide and flashcards. I tend to go for the dotted paper. There are some special ones. So there's the Cornell notes taking system. There's a legal page, which tends to have the red line down it. You've got a single column with a blank bit at the top. Oh, did you ever have notebooks like that at school? When you were like 5? Your exercise book had really wide lines at the bottom and a blank bit at the top, so you could draw a picture.
Yeah, I think it did.
That's what that one is. Then you've got a single column on its own. You've got 3 columns, 2 columns, 2 columns on the right. So you've got lots of different ones to choose from. These are fairly new, the planner type. So you have an accountancy type, a monthly planner B, a monthly planner C, a to-do list. This is just giving you a starting point, but the beauty of the thing is that you can actually make your own as well. So one of the ones I made was my weekly planning sheet, which was this one down here. But you also have there guitar score and music paper, etc. I had to give that up aged about 7. I played the recorder, but not very well. Did play the piano. I can play Fernando on the piano.
I played the clarinet, but not very well.
I can't understand that. I think you're either gifted in that way or you're not, and clearly I wasn't, so leave it alone. So for this one, I'm going to choose the standard yellow paper, dotted. But if you click on here, you've got other options as well. So there's standard sizes, there's sizes that are perfect for the iPhone, which means you don't have to zoom in and out. And you can also choose other sizes like A4 if what the ultimate destination is here, that you're printing it. So it very much depends. What you select in here depends on your final output, but I want to use this digitally, so I'll stick with that. You can, in Goodnotes, but not Notability, have a landscape page as well as a portrait page, so you can make a decision at that point. Now, why would you be choosing a language? Well, the reason to choose a language is that once you start writing in Goodnotes, and it's very much aimed at the Apple Pencil, it will make the text that you write searchable. Now, my handwriting, I thought, no chance. And actually, it's not bad. The trick to it is choosing the correct language in here. I've actually had good results with US. I tend to use a Z for things like standardise and stuff like that. I was brought up with Oxford English, which is a Z, but most of the UK uses an S. The reason that I would choose UK, even though I tend to use a Z, is for words like favour, favourite, etc., which have a U. So I would choose UK in there. And at that point, you're good to go. So I'm going to create that book, and there is my notebook. Now, you can type in here, but this is very much you creating it ready to work on an iPad, in my opinion. The text has improved, so you click on text, you click in here, and then you can just start typing whatever you want. But it's very much, I can press enter and I can get a new line, but it's not word processing standard. Not by any means is it word processing standard. So I don't tend to put text in it. Notability is far better if it's text heavy, put it like that. Right, but what I do tend to put some text with is on the front cover of the book. So I would choose probably white in here and put on what it is. So it's stickers. You can change the font. You do have some styling available. And you can also set up the default if you want. So I tend to go Avenir. Most of my plain text is Avenir. There we go. And I can make that bit bigger as well. Either with the slider or actually using the plus and minus at the far end. So let's make that size. And as I say, you could make that the default, but you probably don't want white text as the default. And how far? Yeah, that's not in a bad position. That'll do. So I've created a notebook at that point. Right, point of what I was actually going to show you was the freebie. Now, when you download the freebie, which I'm now trying to find, there it is. When you download it, you get this zip file. When you double click it, you get the instructions. Oh. Yes, I know, it's terrible. No one's taking any notice, are they? Jonathan said hello. There's no need to reply. It's fine. He knows you're there. Right, what you get in here is you get the PDF explaining it. You get actual copies of the stickers themselves, which are PNGs. So these are just PNG images. Now, if you've been with us before, you should be thinking, Affinity Designer, multiple artboards. We've done things like this where I've created icons for Notion. So we could have our own custom set of stickers, which we will do in a future week. But these are the actual core stickers. But to make it easy to use them, there is another zip file which actually has in it a Goodnotes notebook. Now, you don't need the desktop version of this, and you could do this on the iOS version. But it's actually as simple as just dragging and dropping that in. And it says it couldn't open it. Crying out loud. I told you this machine was hating me at the moment. No, it doesn't like that either. Right, okay. Would you like to put it into a folder then? Would that thrill you at all? Right, stickers. No, it doesn't like that either. Handily, here's one I did earlier. And I really did. In my inbox, there is the stickers. So this is what I'm trying to import that it's misbehaving with. So it's just a notebook like any other notebook, but you can see the stickers are in there. They're not lined up neatly or anything like that. And there are multiple pages of them. So trick is, how do you actually then use these stickers? Which I would dearly have loved to have shown you in the planner that I'll have to now do next week because the file won't open. Ever had one of those weeks, Mike? Oh, she's disappeared. Was it something Jonathan said? Okay, so what I'm going to do with this, we have our stickers notebook. I'm going to put some stickers in, and we have the actual stickers. Now, it's easier to show you this on the iPad where you would probably use it. So let's make sure that our server's still going. And let's make sure you can see the screen. Oh, it's sharing. Oh.
Johnny says, can the same notebook have different types of paper inside?
Yes, it can. Yes, it can. I wouldn't necessarily recommend it because you'd be moving the iPad around, but it can. So if there's something that you particularly need on 2 pages, yes, you can. Right, okay, so this is the iPad. This is Geronimo again. It has the stickers notebook that I've literally just created. It has the stickers folder that I tried to import into, which it wouldn't have. But in the inbox, I have the stickers. So I'm going to open the stickers there. Stickers, open. Oh, crying out loud. I'm just noticing that you're not seeing the interface of the app, which is not good. Right, there's 2 different ways to share this, I do believe, or is there no longer an option? I'm not seeing an option. Let's try that one. That's better. Now you can actually see what I'm seeing. Excellent. It's because you can actually present your notebook. So it was in presentation mode, which it obviously goes into automatically. Okay. So that's our stickers. I'm going to use the back button to go back once more and open up the stickers notebook that we had, which looks like it's pink now, doesn't it? Dragging just gives you another page. So every time you drag, you get another page. Tap the pages at the top, you can now see you've got 4 pages. So what I would be doing in my notebook is actually making notes, wouldn't I? And you have various tools for this. So I'm selecting the pen. The pen is the red bit on the left-hand side with the Bluetooth symbol next to it. It's an Apple Pencil. Towards the right-hand side, I can then choose a colour, so blue, green, or red. You can choose other colours by using the drop-down, and then that sticks with that until you then change it to another colour. So if you wanted a bright blue. So I tend to stick with the 3 and then add the other colours in as needed. You also have next to that a thin line, a thicker line, and a very thick line. So that's the weight of the pencil. Then I would probably go into here. I tend to write in blue rather than black. It's just a little bit less harsh. And then you put in, so let's say it's your to-do list. What's my to-do list? Oh, I know. Fix publisher. Yeah, see if I could actually write. In my defence, I am holding this at the same time. So, fix publisher. Would it be able to read that? It might actually, you know, it might do that. So basically, I'm going through this and I'm going to put in the things that I need to do. Next week, after hours 100. Amazing. We need the holiday planner. So, holiday planner. Now, at that point, I can get rid of all these. So let's just go into the erase tool. Right, I've got my little list. But the power of this, not particularly maybe with these, but maybe, you know, no, let's have a look at them. That's page 1. Hang on, that's page 1, 2, and 3. Now, obviously they're all together and they don't really, it's not really a case that you would take that page and put that page in another notebook. Unless you used these all the time. Because what you can do with them is, you have in here this tool, which is the select tool. And I'll just show you that with the select tool, you can draw around something and then move it. So I often do this when I've written things and I need to change the order. So if I wanted to put that after that one, I can drag these out of the way and change the order. So it's like paper, but it's got the best of both worlds because it's digital and I can rearrange it if I want to. But where the power of a sticker comes in is if I go to my stickers and I look at these, and there are videos, I know Deb has seen some of these videos, where they sit there for hours putting stickers in notebooks. It drives me insane, but they do. What you can do is you can pick these stickers up from in here and actually use them. So you make sure that you've got your select tool and you have a look at what you want. So that was a to-do, wasn't it? So if I wanted my to-dos to have a very nice heading on them, I can draw around these, don't even have to be that precise. Tap and copy. Go over to my notebook, tap and paste, and it brings in the to-do. And I can scale it and I can turn it around. So if I just want a really nice to-do there, haven't got much room at the top, but what I can do is move these down. And I can go back and grab my to-do and put it in there. And you can do that with all of these. So if I then wanted this green one, you see I've only selected the middle, but that should be enough to copy it. Come on, and paste it in there. So that's a bit on the big side, but I could put that next to that because that's an important one. Now, these stickers that we're using are obviously a freebie. And nice as they are, they're probably not the kind of stickers that you would use. But what kind of stickers would you use? And if you can create them, you can use them. So the ones I've used icons from applications. I've used things that I've drawn. I've got ticks and crosses, all the kind of thing that I would want to repeat. And any of these you can use just by drawing around them like that. And copy, and into there, and paste, and in it comes. So who's used these before? Who's used stickers like this before? So not only can you set up the pages that you want, but you can actually set up stickers that you want. What I did with mine was make stickers for each thing. So there was a MacBites sticker. I think there was a ZenKit sticker at the time because we were doing this 3 years ago. I think it was 3 years ago I set all this up. And I wanted to be able to quickly have a page within my notebook, so within the same notebook, that had the custom stickers I used on a regular basis available. And then I just, if there was something on that page to do with MacBites, it got the MacBites sticker on it. Now, obviously, the way this is at the moment, this is the page with the stickers on. But you can do a few things here. Button in the top left-hand corner looks like a window. You've got the 4 pages that contain all the stickers in here. And what you can do in there is not only navigate with them, but you can actually choose to select. So let's say I want to use that one and that one a lot. So number 1 and number 3. You could tap copy and it copies them. So at this point, you've got 2 pages on your clipboard. You can then go into your notebook and using the same option at the top, you should be able to paste these in. I don't see paste there. Can we paste in here? Oh, tell me you can do this. I'm sure I've done it. I don't see paste. Oh no, I'm sure I did. If I did, I don't know how I did that now. Can I just go to there? There we go, paste pages. They've moved it. Right, so I want them pasted after the last page, as the last page. So paste the pages in there. Right, if I now tap on the window option, I've got my original cover, which is very garish. It doesn't look like that on the iPad, I can assure you. I've got my 3 yellow pages, and I've got the 2 pages that I pasted in there. So now they're in here, all I would need to do is with the same tool selected, just draw around it, tap, copy, use the page navigator to go back to the page I want it on, tap on there and paste in, and then put that where I want it. So actually I might choose to do that to fix for my to-dos over here. Now, how would you do that? Well, for a start, let's start trying to get rid of things now. So I don't need that one. So I could cut that, get rid of it. These I do want, but they're not very neat and tidy. So I want them out of the way. While I put this up there. So get into there and drag that up a bit. Right. And then all I need to do over here is actually draw around each bit and drag it back into place. Don't even need, do need that at the top. Why are you not doing that? Come on. A minute. I do need it at the top, so I need to change the order. Draw around there, move it up. Should be able in here to change the order. Or cut it and then paste it and that'll put it at the top of the order. Right, now what I don't need is that little dash at the beginning anymore. So I have an erase tool. I can just get rid of that bit. Select that, and obviously too big for the box. But you do have the opportunity in here to choose resize, and then anything that you've typed, just the same as anything that you bring in, you can scale and rotate if you want. So then I'll just make that big enough there and put it in the box. So you've got lots of options with this. So when you're thinking about designing this planner that we were in the middle of designing, you need to be thinking about getting the size right of that, but also maybe I could put some stickers in and then put the text on top of the stickers. So have I got any questions about anything there? There's a chat going on about something wholly different. Do I have any questions about this?
No.
You don't do a planner, you just take notes. I find it's handy to have a page that is custom for what I'm doing. I'm trying to think if I've got any that are demoable. Let's go back. There should be one in here. But whether I can actually show it or not's another one. That one probably. So if I just whip through these, that was an actual meeting. And you can see at the top there's a date on it. So it was Valentine's Day last year. But it's also got page numbers and what the meeting was about. And I use this method where I end up with 3 individual pieces. So I have this bit over here. It's like the Cornell method. This bit here and extra stuff at the bottom. And how I actually work with that is during the meeting, while rubbing out, right, during the meeting, I would make the notes here. And then doubtless I'll be saying, so, what's the result of that then? And I could have carried on making notes down here, and now I need to put something in that place. And yes, I can grab this, we've already seen that, and move it down. But if I haven't got anywhere to move it to, that could be a problem. So what I tend to do with it is put the extra bit in this bit at the side. So decided or whatever, and then put that in there. If there's anything else on that page, then it would go at the bottom down here. So sometimes having a page layout can actually really help you. What I'd have to do if I didn't have that, if it was just a blank page or I'd used a page that came from Goodnotes, is at a minimum, I'd have to put this information on the front page and that, but this bit would need to be on every page. So rather than do that, this actually, I showed you how I designed this. I used Affinity Publisher for it. And I cheated and used the page number for the page number, if you will. Because really, what I would have liked was a mail merge, but there's no mail merge option. But that works really nicely. So I think having a basic layout on a page, but maybe not taking it too far. Hence the stickers are really useful. So if I could have put stickers on there of, this is point 1 or this is point 2. And if you've got like predefined stickers for that, which I don't know if we have in here or not. Do we have numbers? No number stickers. Oh, we need number stickers. But I might use those for that. These down here. Just to make a point of like, don't miss that one. That was a new point that we discussed or something like that. Or I could make my own stickers, which is what I will do next week. But that's what I do with it. So what I've done with that one is create the page and then add the stickers at the end of it. So you can have the stickers in a separate book, which just opens up separately, or you can actually add them into the one that you've got and then navigate with the page option to get to them. What I will say is Notability does not have the option to navigate the pages as easily as that. Their navigation is down the side, which is fine up to sort of 30 pages. But beyond that, you're scrolling up and down. And I thought, where's the page organizer? Where's the bit, if I want to move those 5 pages? And that's not as easy. But what I'll show you next week is how to make these books of stickers. And then we'll make one of our own. And hopefully I'll be able to get Affinity Publisher up and running, because it's not at the moment. Can you convert your handwriting into typed text? Do you know, I'm not sure in this new version. I don't think you can. You have a few options. OneNote can do that. I'm not sure in here. Let's not do it with that pen, hey. To do that, you'd have to be able to grab hold of it. You can take a screenshot. Not seeing an option to convert it to text. But the point, what they would say to you is, you don't need to, because it can search what you've got. But then if you don't particularly like your handwriting, and the whole point was that you wanted it typed out, then you could be at a loss. Right, let me have a look. Another question. Does it support Scribble? I don't believe it does. No. That will be because it might do in certain parts of it, you know, when you're renaming something. But if you go into here, you have a lot of clever stuff going on with the settings of whether you have it scrolling directions, stylus and palm rejection, you choose the actual stylus. So there's a lot more going on in here than just the scribble thing. Right, I'm looking at Deb. Yes, it does. Well, what's this? Yes, it does. Is this in relation to the text thing? Or not?
Can you convert your... Yeah, I think... Can you convert your handwriting into typed text?
Oh, it does support scribble. Right, okay. Is that up there? Let's try it in there. Not doing that for me. And what am I doing wrong? Everything is wired up as far as I can see, and I've got the text on. Nope. Moving that. My finger's on it, which is scaling it, so that bit's working. Oh, it did one word. It did one. Hang on. There we go. Yes, but good grief, it's fiddly. Heck, that wasn't what I typed at all. Right, let's try again. Let's see what it makes of that. Oh, pretty well, pretty well. I can't be doing with that. I really can't be doing with that. But yes, it does. Yes, it does. There you go. Okay, so next time I had almost finished the holiday planner, but the file won't open. Now, that could be because the original file, if you remember, was a designer file. Then I got it into Publisher. It was saved in there, and tonight it's just not having it. But you know what my Mac's like. You know what my Mac's like. But we're halfway there because you've seen the stickers. We just need to create the stickers and export the thing and get that in here, which we will do next week. So let me get that out of the way. What else was there, Mike? Oh, the leg's just come off my keyboard. Another one. Oh, yes, there was going to be that, but that was the other thing that wasn't working tonight, my camera. But never mind, because next week is a very special week, isn't it? 100 shows. Did you ever think you'd see the day? When we started, it was going to be a one-off. And then we did another one because we had such fun with the first one, didn't we? And people were like, oh, you've got to do it again. So we said, we'll do one more. And here we are, 100 episodes on next week. And should we have some Halloween fun as well?
Why not?
And remember, that was why I created that. Yes, it's so close. But be warned. Pay attention. Jonathan, are you awake? Next week, it's 9 p.m, but it's GMT, not BST. Not British Summertime. No, it is Greenwich Mean Time. So, you changed your clocks a while ago, didn't they?
Aussies did.
The Aussies did.
Yeah.
Right, so the Aussies did it first, then we do it, and then I think you do it a couple of weeks later. Is it after the election they changed theirs?
Americans do it next week.
Oh, so it's only a week?
A week.
So for 1 week only, it'll be at a different time. Now, the last time that happened, you all got incredibly confused and thought we'd forgotten. We had not forgotten. But I do appreciate it, because when it comes to putting your clocks back, it's not good, is it? At least we get an extra hour in bed. Now, what time's your car radio saying?
My car radio's 10 minutes fast.
So it'll be 50 minutes slow now?
Yeah.
But what he isn't telling you is he didn't change it in March. In your defence, we've not been out since March, so it doesn't really matter, does it? But I always laugh at that because it's so true. So don't forget, next week, it's a different time. What I'll do is, in the email, I will put in a link where you can tap or click the link and it will tell you the time in your time zone. So technically speaking, we shouldn't have any calamities, but we might do, because we did last time. In the meanwhile, you can listen to lots and lots on demand. We have MacBites FM, obviously, where we are marooned every day. We also have the recordings available for that. And we have this, which I need to show you. Right. All things being equal, when we are actually live, we have the little blue live banner. Also, we have the day number, which is, obviously the live show. That information I send to the radio station. But when they're feeling uppity, which is like every other day, isn't it, Mike? Sometimes that metadata does not make it onto the page. There is nothing we can do about that. Nothing. So just in case you're unsure whether we're live or not, I have put in the calendar. If we're on there at those times, we're live. Simple as that. And the chat will be open. But as you know, sometimes we open the chat at random times, don't we?
We do.
And it causes complete havoc. But we know you love it, really. But we've got everything that's on there. And within each of those items, you will find a link for it as well. So on there, we've got marooned episodes. We have MacBites live episodes, like the 13th. And we have MacBites After Hours on a Friday. You can subscribe to that calendar from there. You can also change it to week view or agenda view or today view. And as soon as we've got a date for next month's Apple event, it will be added to the calendar. And we work at least a month in hand. So you'll never need to ask where we are tomorrow and if we're doing anything, because it's all on the calendar. Tell me you've seen the calendar before. It has been there a while. I've just moved it to the homepage, so it's in your face. Right, we love you guys if you love us. Could you give us a like? It really makes a difference with YouTube. Now, also, elainegiles.com/VIP. This is where you will get first notification of all my sessions. And there's going to have to be 2 before Christmas, isn't there? Catch up with myself, 2 extra sessions. So that is where you will get all information on that. Then there is macbites.co.uk/macbites-mail, which is where you'll get all notifications of all things MacBites. We're also on Slack. We have a ball on Slack. macbites.co.uk/Slack, where we carry on the conversation. Now, Jonathan's bound to be awake, isn't he?
Jonathan is awake.
He's awake. Right, now all I need to do is tread water until he's asleep. So, are you up for it, Jonathan? How long will that be? No, I think we're going to have to call it, aren't we? Because if I don't, Kim will, and she'll call it for Jonathan. Poor me. Never mind. Right, I'll come out of here, and I'll go over to there, and I'll do some jiggery-pokery magic, which is that one, and that one, and that one. Do you know, how long has it been? And it's a big occasion. Can I just say that? It's a big occasion. So we need that, we need that, we need to do that. Oh, it's a huge occasion. He's reached double figures. It's a miracle. Right, let's add Jonathan's. Hang on, Jonathan, there's 9. And there is 10. Congratulations, Jonathan. Way! Mike likes to put you to sleep with the Excel. Kim thinks a MacBite should be dropping soon. Oh! We'll have to see. We'll have to see how that goes, won't we, Mike?
We will.
Has it been 3 months? It hasn't, has it? Not yet. No, not yet. Just saying. Oh, chicken's out. Chicken's out.
She
Midnight
must be
chicken.
Downstairs.
Well, she must be stuffed with all she's eaten, but she did actually want the toilet, so you can't tell her off, even though she went out and barked. But she barked because I had her ball. Which incidentally is somewhere round the Christmas tree.
Which ball? The orange one?
No, one of the yellow, one of the red ones on the string.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
This was because I had to tempt her with it, then I had to stand on it, then I had to grab it, and then she wanted it, so I threw it, and it ended up in the Christmas tree.
Right.
she careered in after it.
She can retrieve it like she did with those Christmas treats.
Oh, she was so funny with that. They were her treats, but that's not the point. She didn't know they existed. And there she was, ferreting under the Christmas tree for them. Only 9 weeks to catch up. You should be there by Christmas, Jonathan. How does Lola like the Christmas tree? She's not said she doesn't like it, Kim. She's fine with it. Mayo was a bit of a menace with Christmas trees, wasn't he? Because he knew his toys were under it, his treats. But no, she's fine with it. She meanders around it and loves it. She's even wandering around all the detritus in the garden with the bushes. Mm. So she's doing very well. She's doing very well.
Green bin now.
Yeah, but if we leave them till they're dead, we'll get more in. And I can take the hedge trimmer out to them. What an exciting life we leave here. Graham says there's a dislike. They should have gone to Specsavers. Thank you, Graham. There's always one. What can you say? Kim hasn't put a Christmas tree up since Kiva came. Oh, you've got to do that. I don't know what she'll make of it, though. She could think it's an indoor toilet. That was our concern when Maya saw his first one. Because the one we've got is kind of tinsely. But the one Mum had was like, it had a brown core and green branches on it. Oh, cats like to climb the trees. I believe, wasn't it last year, Elsa got in trouble?
I think so, yeah.
She ended up, Elsa is the Moore's cat, Kath and Carolyn. And she's so cute, Elsa. And there's this shelf, and I think she got on the shelf and then decided she'd come down via the tree. There you go. My cat climbed up the middle of the Christmas tree when she was younger and the tree fell. We had fun and games with the tree falling. My gran used to go crazy with decorations. So it was like a silver tree. It was probably about 5 foot. And she had it on a table, I think, in the front room. A tiny table, only like a coffee table. But, I mean, it was perfectly adequate to hold it. And it was New Year's Eve. We'd gone round to celebrate New Year's Eve. There was that many baubles and lights on this tree. It was a wonder it was stood up. My granddad said, oh, I'll go and get more of that. I think it was like lemonade for drinks. My granddad didn't do things like that. So why he didn't think about it, I don't know. Good night, Graham. And he disappeared into the front room to get this lemonade. And all of a sudden, this was after midnight. It was literally, we just done the Happy New Year stuff. And he went into the front room and there was this almighty crash. And he'd got his foot caught round the lights and pulled the tree over. The dog and the half a dozen cats that she had were fine with it, but my granddad, no, down it came crashing down. Well, she went in screeching at him. Imagine Mummy Isaacs on the rampage, Jonathan. She gets the thing back up. She dusts Grandad off and brings him in and says, we'll just pretend that was last year, won't we? And he went, yes, dear. He was never allowed near the tree again. What can I say? Oh, my Grandad. They were funny when they rowed. When they rowed, they called each other by their Sunday names, didn't they? So normally he was Judd. But my gran would call him George if they were having a row or she wanted something, one or the other. She never let him forget it, I'll say that. And every year it was like, don't go near that tree. This is like 20 years later. But, you know, in his defence, it was pitch black in there. And you can't see light cables, can you? And she would wire in about 20 sets of lights into one plug. So, I mean, the National Grid would have been proud of her setup. But there you go. So, we've just hit midnight. Shall we go and have something to eat?
Why not?
Why not? I think we should. And I think Jonathan needs to celebrate. You've reached double figures, Jonathan. Well done. So we're going to have ice cream. Do I get ice cream? Oh, excellent. Excellent. Liking that. Right, but for the moment, I'm going to say good night from me.
And good night from me.
And we'll both see you next time. Stay safe, guys.